Let's go from making the playoffs to not even getting close, actually. And
They're executing the plays, and they are doing what's needed, necessary to win football games.
They just didn't show up again. Another team showed up to play with a game plan, executed the game plan, and then the Bills did not.
Just a couple of guys, a couple of microphones, and a heck of a lot of no. It's Football on the No with Jim and Joe.
what is your guys' opinion on the catch? Because
No, I know
it's
it's one of the
It was
same
a
ones.
complete
it's a very
catch.
debatable
I don't think so.
Absolutely.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the No. I am Jim McPhee. There's Cody in the corner over there, and of course, alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, know-it-alls? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the No Show. The show where you, the fans, are the show.
Yeah,
and
you are.
be in the know.
I'm just gonna leave right now. You
with
guys just
Football
chill.
on the
Have
No.
fun.
Like, tune in. If you're new to the show, welcome aboard. Come aboard and help us grow this magnificent football community that we're growing. Head over to YouTube. Go over there, hit that subscribe button for us, hit the notification bell if you could please do so. As well, you can follow us anywhere you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, you name it, we're there. Make sure you hit a follow there as well. Take us along on the go and be in the know.
Yeah,
Become a
absolutely.
know-it-all.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. It's nice. We're actually able to wear shorts and short sleeve shirts down here tonight, so it's nice. The weather's starting to turn around.
Yes,
Spring has sprung.
it's
It's
getting
getting
nicer.
warm this week up here in upstate New York, so
Absolutely.
we're excited about it. And in a couple more weeks, and we're gonna be sitting there chilling, watching the draft. It's exciting.
It's very exciting. I can't wait.
So we can't wait. But
I
you know
can't
what?
wait.
Yeah.
A lot of the surprises that's going to take place.
Oh,
a lot.
And there's going to be a bunch.
There's gonna be-
They're already talking about different trade scenarios
yeah.
and stuff that might happen. A
I
lot
mean,
of them sound ludicrous,
right.
but
and
of
that,
course
and
they're
that
gonna
happens
go.
every year, right? There's
Yeah.
always that speculation factor, like, oh, could this team trade up? Could this team trade down? Like, what are they going to have to give up to move up to said position? And we are blown away by how shocking some picks are that are going to be made. You know, at this draft, just like any other
Right.
draft, there's going to be surprises with that. There's going to be surprises with trades. We might even see a DeAndre Hopkins trade
Yes.
happening in this draft.
It's
He's
funny
working
that you
out
brought
hard.
that up because, again, I was talking to Cody about it, and that's what, again, I think we might see during this draft because it's been pretty low-key. You know, DeAndre Hopkins has been talking about, I don't listen to all the noise and blah, blah, blah. I just keep my head down and do my thing. And, he's got a problem, too. I mean, and I always kind of liked DeAndre Hopkins, but, again, he often talks in the third person. You ever notice that? DeAndre
I haven't.
Hopkins does what DeAndre Hopkins does, and what DeAndre Hopkins is doing is going to be best for DeAndre Hopkins. And it's like,
I like it.
What? You know what I mean? What are you
Keep
doing?
you on your toes.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, who are we talking
what did he
about?
even say? He just said a bunch of words and he didn't even say anything. But yeah, he's just said, I don't believe all that, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I didn't believe they're going to trade me for the Texans too. But then lo and behold, all of a sudden I got traded, So,
Right.
and what you're hearing out of the Cardinals camp is, they're not planning on trading him at all. But, and they can't wait to work with him this coming season.
Oh, no, they're trading him.
But exactly, of course, you're going to hear what they're going to tell you they want you to
They
hear.
already
and
put
things
him
like that.
officially on
And-
trade
and that's
waivers.
what I mean when they're, Ian Rappaport and others are at the combine and stuff like that. They're talking to these head coaches and the GMs and stuff like that. And there has been chatter about possibly a DeAndre Hopkins trade, and there's interest in him right now. So again, with what's going on with the Cardinals and whether they're rebuilding or retooling, this draft really can be big with them. And if they've got that in their pocket there that people, want DeAndre Hopkins, what will it take to maybe move up into their spot, possibly, to move out and move back or whatnot? We shall see. And like we said, we always say it's going to be crazy and we're going to be surprised. And then we get to the draft and we're even more surprised always. And it's even crazier than we expected.
Because it's beyond our expectations. You know what I mean? As fans, we watch the draft and we're like, all right, well, maybe my team will make a move. Maybe we'll go and get this guy. Maybe we'll trade up a few spots. And it's nothing. It couldn't be further from the truth. Like, just what you're thinking the team does, like a 360, and you're like, what? Why?
Mm-hmm.
What? It could be a player that was picked in that spot. It could be them trading up a few spots to get a player that you didn't really like as a fan. And you're like, I don't understand the direction we're going in. So it happens every single year to a lot of fans out there. Everybody, all 32 teams out there do some crazy things that we don't anticipate. But this is where it shows in the draft and all the information that gets put out there, whether it be big time media, whether it be YouTube, like draft gurus, and they do the rankings and everything. Nobody is correct. Not even the great Mel Kiper is correct on a lot of things. And it's because it's that unpredictable.
Don't be rude.
There's no way you can figure out trades, what teams are actually going to do it.
Because it's all opinion-based, too, what you think of a guy,
and there's no way you can realistically pick perfect the draft. It's just impossible.
Yeah, that's why they give away like a multi-million dollars if you do get it like on, because it's never going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
No, so
0% chance.
But yeah, I mean, we were all surprised when we heard AJ Brown got traded last year, and when that blew up everything. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, geez.
Titans fans were like, no. Meanwhile, Philly fans rejoice.
I was like, oh, Titans do not have receivers next year.
It's all good. Traylon Burks.
Yep, absolutely. So
great replacement.
Yeah, it's going to be in a few weeks. We got the next defensive list coming up in a little bit. But again, some breaking news that happened just not too long ago. Today after it's been pretty quiet. Not a whole lot of news going on. There's still a lot of free agents out there. But again, those guys I think are going to find their place after the draft and fill in some spots that maybe teams weren't able to get during the draft and things like that. And some good veterans out there, especially on the defensive side, which will be covered. The defensive rankings here for the draft in just a bit. But now we're hearing about the compensation now that the Packers might be looking for, trying to get here from the Jets here to make this trade happen, because we've been hearing about this trade forever, and then some multiple people bringing it out there, and they're like, it's pretty much a done deal. Aaron Rodgers says he plans on playing there.
Aaron Rodgers is wearing like Jets cleats working out outside now.
And Joe Douglas on Boomer Esiason show just on Friday says, he's going to be here.
Yeah.
So Jets fans rejoice, everything else.
Happen.
So it's going to happen. So we're finally hearing this. The compensation was going to get Joe. Why don't you let everybody know what's going on?
Yeah, and this is kind of the big hang up. This is what a lot of people were trying to decipher. What exactly is the trade compensation for Aaron Rodgers? Well, what the Packers what they really want, what they're really expecting the Jets to give up is this year's 2023 second-round pick. And you're saying, oh, all right. I mean, you could deal with that as a franchise, second-round pick. But here's the big but. They want a guaranteed 2024 first-round pick. And that is the huge hang-up. And you can argue why it is or why it's not. Like, I get it. Aaron Rodgers, 39 years old, huge contract that you're going to have to pay him in guarantees. And that's kind of like the big thing. And you don't know his future. Is it going to be 1 year? Is it going to be a couple years that you're going to have him if you agree with this trade scenario? For me, it's a lot to ask. It's a lot. The second round pick, I was like, okay. But then when they want the guaranteed next year's 2024 first round pick, I'm like, whoa. You want us to give up a first round pick for a guy that may not even be here next year? That to me is a little absurd, a little extreme. So that's where the big hang up is right now between the Jets and the Packers. They're trying to figure it out. They're going to, because both teams don't have a choice but not to figure it out, So, but yeah, that's the big deal right now between the Packers and Jets.
Well, I got nothing to say. You guys,
I thought you guys made
most of the points.
Yeah, it seemed like you wanted to say something. I could see it in your eyes.
Say something nice about Aaron Rodgers.
Now, what do you think about that, Joe? Do you agree with Joe now just about the compensation? What do you feel is the real compensation for an Aaron Rodgers at his age and what's going on?
It's gonna be tough. I don't think there's any way that we're gonna see a first round draft pick coming in that trade.
No.
This guy is for a season or two, and while they'll be like, oh, now we can make our playoff push, this is not like a guaranteed Super Bowl ready, one quarterback away team. So we get this guy for a season or two. We'll give you maybe 2 second rounders. Even that's a little much, but first round?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I would be dumbfounded. I know both teams are kind of sitting there, hand on the trigger.
Right.
Neither team will put the gun down, but I would be shocked if the Jets were the first one to flinch in this.
Honestly, I think it's got to go second rounder this year and a future consideration for third. That's where I would feel comfortable with this trade because you're still giving up a high-quality draft pick the following year, but it's not so high to the point where you're like, Jesus, we might have made a mistake.
And tons of money.
Yeah, you got to pay that guaranteed money.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, because when you look at it too, it's like not one team, like you've said it before, has really the upper hand on the whole situation. The Jets have openly said that this is what we want. We're willing to go for this. And then the Packers have, ruined the relationship with Aaron Rodgers. He came out of his darkness, and then he had changed. He's like, oh, I came out and I was ready just to walk away or whatever. But now I heard when I came out of the darkness that they were looking to trade me. They didn't want me anymore. So now all of a sudden, that the relationship is completely damaged. He's ready to get out. So then the Jets are also saying, hey, man, he wants to leave anyways. So why don't you just bring him over to us? And they're like, well, you really want him, so how much you willing to give? So it's like you said, it's kind of that dumb finagling back and forth. You guys want the same thing. Why are you bickering over tiny little discrepancies over the whole situation? Why don't you just make it better, for yourselves and come to just a simple agreement? You're stretching this route way too long. And again, like you said, bickering probably over just little discrepancies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's like when you're some teams like because you see it even there. The person wants out, they want to be traded, blah blah blah, and then eventually they end up cutting the guy. You know what I mean? Doing what they got to do
If they can.
You know what I'm saying? But. This is the same kind of situation, but you've already been in conversations about doing the trade. Now you're committed kind of to the whole thing. It's just figure it out already because you're getting to draft time, and for the Jets, what's going to go on? I mean, if he's not in the building during that draft day, there's a lot of sketchiness though still that goes on with that.
Nothing.
And then and then even the Packers, so what are they figuring out? So
they got to get that deal done, and it's gonna and it might take till after the draft. Mm-hmm. This is something that is going to get done. The Jets aren't going to automatically just start, hey, we're going to draft a quarterback now. It's not going to happen. They are going to get this deal done. There is going to be at some point where the Packers are going to have to be like, all right, listen, they're not going to give up this first rounder for nothing. Like, we just can't get that pick. It's not going to happen. So let's try to compromise. And that's where both teams are going to probably get back on the phones. And then they're going to talk it out and be like, listen, what is the highest you'll give for him? Because we do want a future pick. We want a guaranteed future pick of some sort. What can we, come to an agreement to? And I think that's where the real negotiation will end up. And it'll be a lower pick for 2024. And then this whole thing will be done. Like, I understand a lot of frustrated fans out there are like, Jesus, this should have been done weeks ago. And you're right. Mm-hmm. But the hang up is that future first rounder is a lot to ask for when you don't know the certainty of Aaron Rodgers, the guy that has been questioning his future the last 3 years. Every single year, he's been like, I don't know, maybe I'll hang him up. Maybe not. Hey, can you sign this player for me? Oh, I'll come back. No, I think next year I'm out. You know what I mean? So he's so unpredictable in terms of decision making that this year, this offseason, where we've seen Rodgers take time away from football and stuff, the decision there was already made. Like, Packers were ready to move on, but only if Aaron Rodgers wants to move on. Mm-hmm. That's where kind of how they left it. Rodgers said, no, I'll come back and play, but I don't, they probably had a conversation where, like, we're good to part ways. We want to hand the torch over to Jordan Love and see if he can, take over, and we want to move on from your contract. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. In the end, it's going to get done. It's just, I know it's kind of crazy. We always keep hearing these rumors about they're close, they're far apart, they stop talking, but I think in the end, I think a lot of times, like, now that we're getting down to the nitty gritty of the draft and the draft is right around the corner, that I think they might take a break from talks now. Mm-hmm. I think they're both organizations are going to be concentrated on the draft and then maybe pick things up afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, let us know what you guys think in the comments. If you agree with the compensation, or tell us what you think is the appropriate compensation for an Aaron Rodgers at this point. Again, 39 years old. Yes, he was an MVP just a year or so ago, but again, I think he really needs weapons though too, and he kind of shows you even a guy of his caliber still needs weapons around him too. Because look, and if he doesn't get them, he bitches and complains about them, so that he doesn't have it.
Well, he had a right to complain.
Yeah, I know. I get you there, but I know. But you hear the narrative too. But again, when you look even at Tom Brady again, and I hate to use this again, for a lot of his career, who did he really have as a wide receiver? I mean, you're talking about names like Julian Edelman and Wes Welker, who he kind of made, great receivers out of, in the slot position here with the way the offense was run. yes, you have Rob Gronkowski, who was a great tight end and one of the best of all time, if not the best, which was nice. But they just on occasion grabbed, veteran receivers on the tail end of their career, Randy Moss and things like that. But they had the Deion Branches and things like that of the world for a lot of their run for the championships that they had.
Yeah.
And a lot of people said if you have a great quarterback, you can make a lot of other guys special.
You can, and that's where accuracy
still
comes
win without
into. But to be honest, he still needed players. Like for Brady's legacy in New England and everything that transpired thereafter, every quarterback needs weapons, no doubt. You don't have to be a big name. You got to have the skills for that offense. And that's what New England did the best back then, is they found certain skills and attributes that they said, well, this is a perfect puzzle piece for our offense. This is a very nice one. And then they excelled because of it. Brady, he made his own thing. He made his own path. Like, Brady had to be accurate. Brady was super smart. That's what kind of set him apart from a lot of quarterbacks throughout the league. But that was early in his career. So that's why you bring up guys like David Branch. He was a nobody. So wasn't Wes Welker. Nobody at the time. But they became bigger names, and everybody knew them not because of Brady, but because of the play on the football field. Like, so it all goes together, right? This is the ultimate team sport. So if you have a great quarterback but no weapons or an average offensive line, you might struggle a little bit. It needs to be a well-oiled machine, hand in hand. You got to have all good parts. You can't just have a couple.
There you go. You have all great working parts. And now the Jets here. Now, this is an interesting thing here, too, because, again, since this whole dynamic has been happening, this trade talk and stuff like that, the Zach Wilson situation here for him, young quarterback was was drafted early, like second overall. Yeah. And to be kind of the guy, and now he's got overshadowed by just even a Mike White that they had, and he's not even with the team anymore, but he won the starting job over him. And then the fact that when Zach Wilson was playing and then they happened to lose a couple, he did not take responsibility for some of it and put it on the rest of the team, what I'm saying? Defense. And that just ruined the locker room, so much so that when there's talks about Aaron Rodgers coming to the team, you have the players on their Twitters, on their TikToks, all are celebrating, like, can't wait till Aaron Rodgers comes. So what does this mean for Zach Wilson in his career now, which didn't even get a chance to start? So there's a lot of question marks to what even this kid, his potential might be. We heard there's a great ceiling with his arm strength of what he's had. He's been short, though, too. So, I mean, that's tough on his side, but athletic. We still haven't really got to see what potentially he could be, but now sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, you're not really going to, unless you look at some preseason tape and maybe what do they do with him? Again, just sit there behind him. He's probably going to complain at one point to get moved or whatnot, but what's going to happen with Zach Wilson's career with this whole thing?
We're not getting the full spectrum on Zach Wilson. Like, early his career, came in, high draft pick. He was supposed to be the savior for the Jets, and injuries mounted up. So we've seen him in limited capacity in terms of a starting quarterback. We haven't seen the best of Zach Wilson, I don't think. We haven't seen, what he could actually become being that high value pick. I really do believe that he needs more coaching. He needs a little bit more development, and I think he'll be there. But the fact of the matter is if you can't stay healthy on the football field, that's going to be a big issue. So hopefully if he can get healthy and it might not be with the Jets. I mean, real simply, it could actually end up on another team playing to be the starter once again and earning that right to be the starter for Zach Wilson. We've seen really good Zach Wilson, the one that got drafted high. We've also seen the Zach Wilson nobody wants to even see anymore. So there's been two different, big ranges of his play. So for Zach Wilson, I think sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, now here's the thing. If that's the case, he could very easily say, I want to be traded. He can make a trade request if this happens and they bring Rodgers in. And now he feels a certain way, like, hey, you benched me before and now you're technically benching me again because you went out and got someone else. I want to be traded. Send me somewhere else where I can at least have a chance to be a starter. So that's another thing altogether in itself. And Zach Wilson, you look at his attitude, like the ego that he brings on the football field, and he wants to prove everybody wrong. That's not going to go away. So I could see him making a trade request. I don't think maybe the Jets probably won't honor it, but it's something that could happen with Rodgers coming in here. Or the Jets have a plan. They've probably had a conversation with him and said, hey, listen, we know how you feel. We know we've had, some little bit of, ruffles in the tides, so to speak.
Ooh, I like that.
But going forward, here's our goal. We want you to learn behind Aaron Rodgers for at least a year. Then maybe
Just
we'll
follow
see.
him around because he's not going to teach him.
Well, maybe we'll see what happens because he does need further development. Maybe this will be a good break for him to just sit in the back and just learn, and then following year maybe come out and earn that job again. So you could sit a year, and if Rodgers retires, you still have Zach Wilson. You're not pressured for the following draft to be like, oh crap, we don't have Aaron Rodgers. We traded Zach Wilson. We have no quarterback for the future, and this team is getting ready to win. Like, this team is getting closer and closer to be a winning team, to be a playoff contender. So don't stunt the growth. You know what I mean? Be careful with what they do. I'm not 100% on board personally with going to get Rodgers in the first place because of the uncertainty factor.
Yeah.
Guy's going to play maybe 1 year, 2 tops, and then be done. Is that
Well, that's
enough
what I mean.
time?
But that's when Zach Wilson's his contract's up.
Right.
So then what do you do? He probably, in his eyes, again, wants to book elsewhere. Because, again, if
course.
my team is given up on me, now you want to try and talk about a contract and you want to pay me low probably because you obviously thought I wasn't good enough and you grabbed somebody else to start in front of me. Right. So I want to go play for somebody else and prove what I can do with somebody else.
That's where Zach Wilson
what I mean?
has to push the envelope here. He's going to have to say, hey, look, if they officially get this trade done, which we all expect to happen, I'm out. Like, trade me somewhere. Trade me to a quarterback needy team right now. Trade me to Washington. I can compete with Sam Howell. Trade me somewhere where I might have a chance. Trade me to Tampa Bay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anything like that. So at least he has an opportunity to maybe play. And at the very least, maybe not this year, but the following year he'll get a guaranteed shot at maybe going for that starting gig.
Cody, what do you think?
Yeah, that all makes sense. I haven't been too high on Zach Wilson even since draft day. Anyone who's talked to me knows I'm like, he's got the gunslinger, but he has never really had that high football IQ, and he needs to grow in maturity just a lot. It was ugly, that scene last season when it shows the quarterbacks like together on the sideline. You see Zach Wilson just sitting on the bench, hood up, doesn't want to talk to anyone. Just like, yo, leave me alone. I'm not starter today.
That was after he threw 3 interceptions, though.
Yeah. Regardless.
He's not going to talk to nobody after that.
He's still, that is correct. You got to be there for your team. It's not just you. I don't think, maybe his ego is a big red flag. We see a lot of players with high egos at the quarterback position. Aaron Rodgers himself.
This league
has
is
one of the
made
highest
by them.
egos in the entire league, but he is extremely successful because he is insanely talented. He is very smart on the football field. And maybe just a little bit of that can rub off on Zach Wilson, and maybe that can kind of save his career from becoming this career backup that people might not even want because he's shown that immaturity on the sidelines.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because Zach Wilson, when he came out too, he had openly said that he kind of tried to mirror his game after Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is his hero, and it is his childhood, favorite, player that he wanted to be like. So, I mean, the fact that he's be able to now be on the same team with him too and try and learn from him again, so which he's already been trying to do, copy what he does. I think it can come naturally to him. But again, a lot of uncertainty with him. We'll see what happens with that. And I think a good team, really, to try and get to, for me, would be probably Seattle. Because how long is the Geno Smith thing going to really work for him? He's getting older. And if you've got a young Zach Wilson that maybe could come in, They already have a jersey with Wilson on it, right? Probably, somewhere. Russell Wilson. And
Take his number 2.
But he's got the little bit of athleticism, and maybe he can do something there. And I think Pink Carroll is that type of dude, if he's still alive by then, to be able to mold this guy, to get him into it. So I think that might be a situation for
He's a vampire.
for
He ain't
Zach
dying.
Wilson. And it's funny, he started up another cookie making business. You know that? And it's called Crumble. So it resembles his
him.
career really, too.
He's
It could be
good.
crumbling right there in front of
I
him.
mean, the whole thing with Seattle, though, that's
Yeah.
only if Geno fails this year. That's the only time I could see Seattle making a move for another quarterback. Unless, listen, it's not out of the realm of possibility for this draft. They're picking at 5 where they can take one of these quarterbacks that are there and groom them for the future because, just like you said, like with Geno, it's a 3-year deal. They probably can get out of the deal in 2 years. And
oh, yeah.
And, they draft a quarterback now. They don't – listen, we've seen how good this team is now and how young it is.
Yep.
It's only going to get better. You know what I mean? So their defense is much tougher right now, on the football field. Their offense is still getting better, every single now that Geno has shown us his true colors as a quarterback. He was just playing with us in the past years.
Yeah.
But now going forward, listen, you're not going to be picking that high again. You're not going to be picking in the top 10 for a long time. At least that's what we project them to be, right? So for Seattle, you're at 5. Hey, if you like Will Levis, take him. If Anthony Richardson is there and you think you can develop him, take him. It's not out of the realm of possibility because it's a lottery pick. Honestly, they have the 5th pick overall because of a trade. So because the Broncos are stupid, but now they have
Maybe they're getting smarter now because now John Elway doesn't.
They
work
have
for
that
anymore.
luxury pick now where the point is like you can just say, hey, we're never going to be picking up this high, so let's take a quarterback now. We'll groom him. Then when Geno moves on, we got our franchise quarterback, and we're still rolling. We've still got a real young team, and we keep going. So that's something else to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, a lot of different scenarios, a lot of different things. And again, we're with the draft coming April 27th. We're getting excited. We're just weeks away now. A lot of stuff to come and talk about, and and also that night. The night of, right before it happens, things show up too out of nowhere. Just boom. Now we're getting the real information and things like that. That's
why
and mirrors.
That's why when we brought up Hopkins possibly being traded. It's because Cardinals want to go move on from his salary, and that's really the big reason. So for Hopkins to get moved, I don't think it's going to be crazy compensation.
No, I don't think so either.
This is going to be something where maybe it's a 3rd round pick. Maybe it's less than that. Maybe it's a 4th or 5th because they got to just unload this contract and get rid of him.
The Texans didn't get a lot for him in the first place either, though.
No,
what I mean?
Let's just say Bill O'Brien is a genius for getting a bag of peanuts for him.
Yep.
But and David Johnson, the running back, the injury-plagued running back he traded? I was like, wow.
He had a whole good season.
Nice
whole good.
job, Jonas.
That's exactly it. But for Hopkins, it might not cost you hardly anything.
Yeah.
You are getting a 30-year-old wide receiver, so it's not like he's super young, but he's still kind of young. He doesn't really get injured a lot. So let's see what happens. It's going to be exciting.
I think even some of that too. He says he's willing to play for whatever team he's on, stuff like that. But I think maybe it was just me. I don't know. What do you think, Cody, out there too? But when we were watching some of the games, and then also even after the fact, you saw a little thing with him and Kyler Murray. Like they weren't on the same page, and then he'd be like getting on the sidelines.
Honestly,
what I'm saying?
Jim,
like what's number one?
Could you
I'm
be on
open,
the same page with a 5'10" quarterback when you're this tall?
Yeah, I don't
They
know.
can't be on the same page.
But that's what I mean.
I see it differently than you.
If there's a problem
No
with each
kidding.
other there too, then again, maybe he wants out then too. So who knows? But it might be the perfect situation for them. But all right, so yeah, again, like I said, there's a lot of storylines to come. But tonight we are finishing up our positional 2023 NFL Draft positional rankings.
Defensive.
That's right. Now, here we go, Joe. We're going to go to the top 10s. Usually it's your top 10, but we got Cody along with us here now, so we're going to have 2 lists all at once. That's right. It's the top 10 2023 NFL Draft defensive positions here. All right, let's get it swapped out. For some reason, my mouse is not working. Cody, is yours going?
Yep.
Oh, Yeah, wait, there we
Oh,
go.
yours is
We
going
got
too.
it. It's going
Yeah, I
now.
think it
Here
was
we
just
go.
stuck off
It
screen.
was just stuck for some reason. I don't know. Who knows? Sometimes it sticks. You ever get that situation where it just sticks to
sticky
your leg
situations.
sometimes?
Yes.
You know,
It's
you're
the
like,
worst.
why?
Yes.
You know, but
I don't know why your mouse is over there.
anyways, here we go. We're going to the list. We're going to start off with D tackles first here. So here we go. Cody and Joe's. Yeah, I said it separately this time, so I did not mess
Good
it up.
job.
2023 NFL Draft top 10 D tackles. Let's look at it. Joe, take it away.
Number one, we got Jalen Carter from Georgia. And this, as you can see, Cody fully agrees that he should be number one at that spot. What I liked about Jalen Carter real quick is the guy's just a dominant inside D lineman. Like, there's a big gap in terms of D tackles when you talk about Carter and the rest of the field. Carter is by far the most frustrating prospect I've ever seen because, and I know at Georgia, they like to rotate their players a lot, but good God, man, he needs better conditioning. And that's kind of the biggest concern I have of him is I'm concerned about his work ethic. I don't know if he's going to have that drive at the next level after he gets his contract and what have you. So for Jalen Carter, dominant dude, 6'3", 314, is sub 5 in the 40-yard dash, which is pretty amazing for his size. But super strong, athletic, can make all the pass rush moves. And just when you watch him on tape, when he is all in, he just throws people around like ragdolls. Like, it's not even fair. I've seen him in a play. It was the LSU game where he plugged up the run, and there's literally two blockers on him, and he still got to the running back, lifted him up like a trophy, and said, "Georgia's number one." Like, it's insane. This guy is toying with his food every single down when he's dialed in. Wow. But the problem is conditioning for me. Like, I've seen him get out of breath way too often. I've seen him come off the field in certain situations where they were critical for him to be out there, and he's not available. So that's a big concern for me at the next level. So for Carter and his work ethic, we've seen the off-field problems recently that he's had. You know, the car racing incident. You know, and just not showing up at workouts in college, like just kind of blowing it off. So at the next level, he's got to flip the switch real quickly. Like, he needs to become that gym rat. Like when Ndamukong Suh was always in the gym. Like, this is the guy that I see Carter becoming is Suh or better. Like, believe me when I tell you, this guy has the potential to be even better than Suh was. A better pass rusher, a better just all-around guy that's going to just destroy the offensive line. So that's why he's at number one for me. Cody, why do you have him at number one?
So it's a lot for me to put a guy like this at one when there are so many red flags. It speaks to his talent 'cause we've had the off-the-field issues. He didn't perform very well at his pro day. You have the conditioning thing, which I think that's something that can very easily be fixed at the next level. You know, at Georgia, while it was a deep line, he was only averaging 30 snaps a game, which is it's very low. If you look among the top D linemen, they're averaging 45, 50 snaps a game, and he doesn't even get close to that. I'm hoping with an NFL conditioning, he can really, step up. He can become that superstar player because when he's in there, he is nuts. He is in there every play, run, pass. He does everything. Just please clean up off the field and just work for it. No matter how talented you are, work for it, or you will just be nothing. You'll be a draft day bust. It's as simple as that with him.
All right. Yeah, Joey, and I'm looking at this list too. Again, a guy looking in where I just go off of where your guys' cheat sheets are. Then I figured out like the week right before the draft. But I'm looking at your guys' list here down too. And I'm going to screw up names again. But I got the Adetomiwa.
Adebawore.
Yeah. At 2 for
You had
you,
to
but
study
he's
the
not even on
pronunciation.
Cody's list. So I'm
believe he's
wondering
on my edge
what's
list.
going to. Yeah. So what's going on here? All right. So what's the difference here? What's going
So
on? Why he's
at
2 and
2,
he's not even on Cody's list?
The problem is with a lot of these prospects is that they are so versatile that they can be on several different lists. Like, it's absolutely insane the amount of players and the talent that's out there where like a guy like Adebawore.
Yeah, you.
I will never pronounce
from
it
Northwest.
Absolutely not.
6'2",
Just call him
282. is seen in the same light of like of one of these lower weighted these guys that are a little bit considered light in terms of a D tackle. But this guy showed up at the Senior Bowl tremendously, was unblockable at the Senior Bowl, and he's going up against guys that were brought in with these other power schools, and he's just pushing them aside at ease. Whether he was at edge, whether he was inside at D tackle, they could not handle him. And then when you watch the tape, almost every time this guy is only 6'2", 282, whether he's inside or outside, and he's blowing up the backfield. He's getting after the quarterback. He's throwing double teams off of him with ease. And to top it all off, when you look at a guy like this who can play inside or outside, but he also runs a 4.5 at that size, which is truly amazing. Mm-hmm. So his closing speed is off the charts. This guy is a very hungry player. He's a guy that's very determined, work ethic through the roof. This is the guy that you want on your football team who's going to show up, not get in trouble on, off the field issues. You don't have to worry about anything about that. This guy, because he's so versatile, and that's where you kind of see this league and where it's headed, is versatility players. Guys that can do more than one position. Guys that can actually say, hey, we could line him up here. We can line him up there. We have him do different things, even off as a 3-4 linebacker, have him rush off the edge. This guy can fill any one of those roles, and I feel like at the next level, he's just going to be the next ascending blue chip type player.
Now, Cody, is that what you thought maybe too? He's just like a hybrid player. Is that why you didn't have him really in this spot? You wanted to more keep it for the hot
edge.
volley still, maybe?
Yeah, but the things, I guess I can bring up my points about him now, because there are a couple things I really like, and then a couple things that I guess were a little bit of red flags, while you'll see him lower on my edge list. On one of the positive notes, though, this guy, his endurance is not in question. He played 712 snaps last season, which is one of the top in the entire FBS at that position. There wasn't many other guys that could even compete with him there. He runs super fast. I think he even ran a 4.4 at his pro day. He had 30 plus on the bench at the combine. This guy is fast. He is extremely strong. He has great endurance. My only red flag I saw, with all those snaps, I just want to see a little more productivity. I want to see a little more sacks in the column, a little more on the pass rush, a little more helping out in the run. All the potential's there. I just want to see a little more productivity. I believe it's in him. He's an extremely high potential player. Mm-hmm. It's just he has to get to that potential.
Yeah, I think he will get there at the next level, because when you're the only guy on campus that's actually doing anything on the D line,
you get doubled a lot.
You get doubled, sometimes tripled. So that's where the production would kind of dip.
All right, next for number 2, though, for Cody's list, he's got Brian Brees here from Clemson. Now, Cody, why don't you tell us about that? Why you have him there? Joe has him there at 4. So let's see what you think here on this one.
Yeah, so we've only gotten to see kind of a glimpse of Brian Brees. He came out. He's a 5-star prospect. Everyone's extremely excited for this guy, and it's just been injury. He's been plagued by these, and when he's out there, this dude is nuts. He's an extreme difference maker. He brings an extremely rare combination of speed and power to the position. We just got to see it. I almost wanted to put him lower because of the injuries, but I'm just this dude's potential is through the roof. He's just got to be out there. When he's out there, he's got a great motor. He's constantly outworking everyone out there, but he's only played in 13 games over the last 2 years. I believe it was 4 last year, 9 the year prior. So he's got to stay healthy at the next level, and hopes that his injuries are more behind him at this point.
Right. Yeah, for me, I'll touch on him real quick too, is, I am not by any means slighting this guy. I think this guy is going to be a phenomenal football player at the next level, but he still needs to further develop his game. And for me, it's injuries and the fact that he still needs to develop his game against the run. He's a tremendous pass rusher as a D tackle, or he's another guy that can also play on the edge. Not a lot of people will view him that way, but Clemson used him inside and outside, and he actually was a better pass rusher, believe it or not, as a defensive end than he was a D tackle, which was pretty insane. So this guy has all the attributes that you look for in a D tackle, a guy that can rush the passer, a guy that can play the run, but he does struggle in that aspect. He's in the right spot, but then ends up getting pushed out, and the hole gets open wider for the back to go through. For Brian Brees, I don't even know how you say this name. Is it Bresci? Or
I think it's
Brezzi?
I want to say it's Brees, but I'm not.
I think
wouldn't
a lot of
quote me
people have
on
been
that.
saying Brezzi. I think that a lot of people have been pronouncing it that way. Brian Brezzi.
Yeah.
This kid is going to be special. But again, for me, with the crazy amount of injuries, that doesn't look good going into your draft here. And it's the unknown. We don't know if he can even stay healthy at this point. If he can and develop that run game, the run defense game, I think this kid, sky's the limit for him. So that's why he's a little lower on my list.
All right.
All right, there you go at number 3 now, Joe. I don't even know how to pronounce that either. What is that, Kalijah?
Kalijah Cansey.
Boom! I got it. Ding, ding, ding.
Kalijah Cansey, I have him as my third D tackle. This is another guy much in the same kind of body as Adetomiwa Adebawore. Kalijah Cansey from Pitt. A lot of people already make the comparisons like, oh, it's the next Aaron Rodgers because he's from Pitt and he's about 280. It's 6'1".
Not even quarterback.
So, what's that?
You mean Aaron Donald?
Aaron Donald.
I thought you said Aaron Rodgers, right? Did you say Aaron Rodgers or did you say
Aaron Donald.
I knew what he meant.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. I was like,
But that's the
dude,
thing
what?
is Kalijah Cansey, tremendous player, amazing. Guy's got quick twitch fibers. He just bursts off the football, gets right into the backfield before you know it. He's actually disrupted plays before they were even plays. The ball was supposed to be handed off to the running back, and the guy ends up tackling both of them in the backfield. So super quick, super fast. A guy that I think is also scheme versatile, that he can play edge or he can play D tackle. He's going to fit into a spot where, like, a team that needs a true pass rusher at that 3 technique. The Eagles could bring this guy in too. Put him right next to Davis, the big mammoth nose tackle they took a year ago. Yep. And then you have another young player in Kalijah Cansey who could actually go and pursue that quarterback. This guy's amazing. So I love these athletes that have size, that have tremendous strength, guys that can do it all. So for me, Kalijah Cansey is easy at 3.
All right, Cody, you have him here at 5.
Yeah, I guess it's not a big issue because at 6 foot, it's not like you're super small for the position, but 6 foot, 280 is just, I guess, a little bit undersized if you're going to be playing a traditional D tackle spot, which hopefully this guy doesn't. But if he's going to move in, I want to see him maybe bulk up, get a little bigger, just so you can, you're not getting thrown around by those bigger guards and the centers and such. You're not just a specialist. You're a guy who can do a bit of everything. He's got the potential for it, but either he's going to move outside and maybe slim down just a little bit, or he's just got to get a little bigger. It's the only thing that made him slide a little bit was just being sub 300 and a lot shorter than the other prospects. I know that's not everything, but when you love a lot of prospects, you got to find things to nitpick to kind of put them up or put them down.
So for his height, he's already under the lineman. That's an advantage. Like that, I've seen it at football games. I've done it during football. If you're shorter than the guy, you're already underneath him and you control him. So that to me is an advantage, if anything. And with his twitchiness and his the strength that he does convert speed to power, it's off the charts. So I don't think he's going to be anything like Aaron Donald, because as much as people are trying to hype that up because of the closeness in comparison. But I think he's going to be a really good prospect at the next level for sure.
And looking at, we already talked about Brian Bresee or Bresee or whatever, how we want to say it.
Bresee.
But Keanu Benton's right there, but Cody had him at 3. Joe's got him at 5. What was the difference maker here for you, Cody, on this one that brought him up to the top of your list?
Give me
here?
like a split second to find him in my notes.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, there we go. Sorry,
It was a split
I
second.
put too many of my notes together. It became a little bit of an issue. But so the things, I'll start off a little bit on the red flag note. Similar to the arguments I made earlier for a guy like Jalen Carter, is I want to see this guy work on his endurance for the next level. He was right around him, similar, snap count per game. It's something I like to look at for these linemen. Can they handle playing all these snaps a game? Are they going to have that superstar potential at the next level? And this guy needs that NFL conditioning to hit that potential because his fire off the snap is nuts. For how big this guy is, he will beat the lineman up every single snap. His motor is great. His fire off the snap is top notch for this entire draft. It's just going to end up coming down to that conditioning for this guy.
All right, Joe, you want to touch him on now? He's sitting there at your number 5.
Keanu Benton from Wisconsin. This is a guy that's kind of being overlooked right now. And for when you look at his
it's not
size
by
at
us.
6'4", 309,
Right.
the guy, consensus, wise, he's not on anybody's radar. You know what I mean? Really.
Yeah.
So Keanu Benton, very strong at the point of attack, has quickness, has decent speed for a guy his size, running a 5.08 40. That's pretty incredible. Not to mention, he's not given enough credit, I would say, for his pass rushing. This guy can get after the quarterback if need be, but phenomenal D tackle against the run. A guy that can definitely handle the trenches for you inside. But for me, Keanu Benton is one of these guys that someone is going to get themselves a starting caliber D tackle at the next level, and might not even have to spend a high draft pick on him at all. Like it could very easily be a day 3 pick. It depends how some teams view him as, but also could be maybe a late day 2 pick. So we'll see how the draft unfolds. But this guy, look out for this guy's name.
Yeah, well, I think one of the reasons he might have slipped down a little bit, I just kind of noticed it again in my notes, was he had a fairly poor outing at the combine in terms of like the bench, in terms of his speed, like averaging to this class. It's just kind of what maybe dropped him down on people's boards a little more.
Really? I didn't see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's one of the things I made sure to mark. I didn't mark like specifics. It was just like he had a very much in the middle when it came down to like broad jump, everything that they measure at the combine. He kind of just chilled out in the middle of everything. It's
Well,
maybe
I
what
mean,
kept him in like the 3rd or 4th round as opposed to like a 2nd round talent, I guess.
When you're 6'4", 300 pounds, you're not going to be, one of those freak athletes that can jump 12 foot on the broad.
He
I
didn't
know,
hit
I'm
the
just-
top bar. Right?
You know how
Yeah.
probably scouts are though. They like to nitpick at the combine. Some people take it too much into
I thought he
consideration.
did really good at the combine. That's where I noticed him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what other people are looking at, but
There you go. Like you said,
Definitely
that's
watch
why
out for his name.
that sets our show apart a lot of times. You know what I'm saying? And that's why we end up getting a lot of these guys that, were secret picks, for some of these teams. Yeah, again, we're looking at your guys' list, and I mean, you're close, and like you said, you're
we're
splitting
staying fairly
hairs
close.
with some of these. So it's in this, like last week, he was kind of like this too. You're like, if you weren't 3, this guy was 5 here, and this guy's over here, and this guy's over here. Not a big drastic thing, besides the guy at number 2 again, which I'm not going to try and butcher his name again, but.
Yeah.
Again, that's because he's a hybrid player. Now here, Joe. Now you guys have you have Mazzy Smith. Is that how it's pronounced here for Michigan?
Yeah.
Here
Yeah.
and Cody's got him here at 4, so 6 again. You're probably splitting hairs again. But Cody, why don't you tell us here why you have him up so high there at 4, and then we'll hit the Joe on this one.
All right, so I like this guy a lot, and I think he probably even would have been a first-round talent if it wasn't for a little bit of a red flag. I believe he got pulled over with an illegal firearm in his backseat or something like that. So that's probably enough for some teams to be like, maybe we'll get this guy on day 2. But this guy, I mean, he's had 2 very good seasons. So you're not like, maybe he's just, one good season and then we don't really get to see if he can keep it up. It's 2 great seasons. This guy is he's great on the run, amazing tackler. This isn't someone who's just going to come up and miss or someone who's going to get outrun to the edge. This guy is an extremely versatile player. He had a good combine. He has great intangibles. I'm very excited to see him at the next level. And Jimmy, I know you're a Michigan fan, so it's always nice for you to see me and
Yes.
Joe ranking someone from that school.
Yeah, nice, isn't it? Yeah, well, it was nice when you see big guys like that, like an Aiden Hutchinson too as well. And it's funny you see that, certain dudes, the way they are, and they just look like they're Michigan altogether too. And that's
Look
where we
like
really
they're
stand
Michigan.
out. You know what I mean? And again, like. I can always now hang my hat on, Tom Brady, greatest quarterback of all time, Michigan player.
Disagree.
So. That's the only time I'll use it, you know what I mean? Because if I have to defend Michigan, I'm like, I don't know, Tom Brady, here, drop the mic. You know what I mean?
So
but anyways,
for
Joe,
Mazzy
take it
Smith,
away.
6'3", almost 340 as a D tackle.
Big dude.
Sub 540 at 485. Pretty impressive for a guy his size, being able to move around like he does. At the next level, he's got some things to work on, just like a lot of these guys didn't need to. At the point of attack, sometimes depending on who he was facing with offensive line wise, if there was a higher talented lineman, he kind of struggled sometimes to play the run. Not real bendy for a D tackle, and usually that's a good trait for pass rushing. So for Mazi Smith, I think he needs to work on just some of his pass rush moves. I feel like he needs to work on keeping his eyes in the backfield against the run, because a lot of times there's other athletes at Michigan that where he made the play, he got the tackle for the stat, but it was a group effort. So for Mazi Smith, I do like him. I'm not in love with him, but he ended up making it at 6 for me. But this is a guy that at the next level, he's got to work on some things, and if he gets them right, he could be a nice starter for someone.
All right, Joe, keep it with you here now. Going on to your 7th player, Keon White from Georgia Tech. Why don't you tell us about him? Why he sits there at number 7 here? When now again, you and Cody are really close on the next couple of players here. What made it interesting for you to put him up there?
So for Keon White, he's a little bit of an enigma for me. This guy at the combine flashed a fast time, and then when you watch his tape, it doesn't show up for me. I don't know where that speed burst is coming from. A guy that's 6'5", 285. Some people are putting him out on the edge. I think differently. I think this guy should stay inside, stay at D tackle, use that quickness that he has inside, and create some disruption in the backfield. I think that's his home at the next level. I don't know if he can be that as an edge player at the next level. So for me, I like his quickness. That's why I kind of want him with his size and quickness. I would like to have him inside at D tackle at the next level. But someone is going to find a niche for him. Someone's going to decide, like, hey, you're going to have to shed 15 pounds, and then we'll put you out on the edge. Or we're gonna bulk you up a little bit more, maybe get you to 290 and 295, and have you play D tackle. So.
All right, here now let's get to the list here and look at Cody's now. Is this the first transgendered French guy here playing now? Jacqueline Waugh. All right. So you got Jacqueline Waugh there here at 6. I'm pretty sure that's how you would probably pronounce it. There at LSU, and that kind of fits, the way LSU, down there, somebody with the last name Waugh too. It just makes sense here. But Cody,
it could just be Roy.
It could be Roy though. Imagine if it is.
I don't even know if he's French.
It might not. It might not be French Canadian possibly.
If he's not French,
you never know. If it's not, then maybe he's just from pirate descendancy. Maybe
pirate descendancy.
Anyways, Cody. So what do you got with this one?
All right. So when I look at Roy, nothing jumps off the table in terms of his physical attributes. He's not the fastest, the biggest. This is a guy who's gonna need to bulk up at the next level, but he only got his 1 season as a starter, and he was extremely productive in that 1 season. A thing you don't look at a lot is pressures from the interior D linemen, and this guy had 26 just last year, and that's still competing with a lot of very good edge rushers and stuff from LSU that we will get to later on. But this guy, he's got a lot of potential. He just needs that NFL, conditioning to bulk him up. It's about the only red flag I have for this guy is he's just very small for the position. I think he's only 260 or something like that, which for the position is just way too undersized, and he's not fast enough to move outside. So this is that guy, if he doesn't get bigger, he's just going to be a forgotten prospect.
Yeah, I mean, Jacqueline is an interesting D tackle for me. A guy that he lacks production. He had 1 year of production, but that to me is a lack. He couldn't find himself on the football field earlier. Now he gets his time to shine, and he did a good job. But I would like to see more from him. So coming up into the next level, I think if given the right coaching, if he develops the right way in terms of strength, in terms of size, I think he has a lot of the intangibles you look for at D tackle already. with pass rush moves, with keeping, very disciplined against the run. I think this guy, if he is, again, he has to develop. This is not a guy that you can draft in this year's draft and say, he's our starter. He's a developmental prospect, but the ceiling is super high. And if he's able to obtain that, this guy could be off the charts good.
All right, Joe, why don't you tell us about your number 8 player now, seeing we took care of Roy there here first.
Took care of Roy.
Took
He's
care of
done.
Roy there. He's
Took care
done.
of-
Because, again, you guys are pretty similar here, but then
So
we'll
number
just touch on
8,
some of these
I have
others.
Siaki Ika from Baylor. Very large man.
Oh, yeah.
Just have to say that. Like, the guy is absolutely, he's a mountain. He just is a mountain. That's a huge bitch. And that's exactly what they say when they see him walk on the football field. 6'3", right? You're not enamored by his height. 6'3", but he's like 340.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
a very large man.
Yes.
Huge prototypical nose tackle. So if there's a team out there that is looking to replace their nose tackle, this guy is the number 1 nose tackle out there. And quite surprising, what I noticed on the film about Siaki is that he has better pass rush moves than some of these guys at edge.
Oh, wow.
Like, the guy has a hammer move where guys just kind of hold on to his arm and go for a ride. and he just breaks through and gets to the backfield. Obviously, he's not going to have tremendous speed for a guy his size, but he is a guy that will plug holes, will take on 2 blockers, maybe more, if he's feeling good that day. But a guy that is just like your supreme run stopper. Like, okay, we're going to run up the middle. No, you're not. This guy holds true. He does not like fall back at all on contact. Even when he was double teamed, a lot of times I noticed it's like he collides with both linemen, and that's it. That's it. They don't get to drive him back. He just stays right there. So that helped out Baylor a lot in terms of their run defense. So for Siaki Ika, super strong dude. Definitely you're not going to be able to move him. At the next level, he does still need some development where, like, he's going to have to work on, I feel like he needs to get stronger too. Like, he already has strength, but I feel like for a guy his size, he just needs to further develop his body at the next level. And I think he'll be a nice, niche pick for someone that is looking for that nose tackle that there's not a lot of in this draft at all.
Yeah, I think the reason he ended up at 7 on mine.
Which is not bad.
Yeah, it's not like I'm saying, this guy's a bad player. Oh, he's worse than these 6 dudes. This dude is just, in terms, the other guys are all multi-dimensional players who I'm like, these guys can impact the pass and the run, at least at their highest potential. Ika is just, his highest potential is the most, like, an insanely dominant run stopper. I don't know if he'll ever develop into that kind of next level pass rusher, but man, this dude is just so...
Well, you don't expect that.
I know. He's so just forceful. There were some of the highlights I watched where this guy gets off the snap, gets under the guard, and it's like he just throws him at the quarterback. Like, there were some crazy ones of him just charging with a lineman, just backpedaling, like,
you can't block him man to man.
Slams him into the quarterback.
You can't block him man to man.
He's super strong. He is impossible to move. I guess he's only here because it's like high floor, low ceiling kind of player. He can't get as good as the other 6 guys, but he's guaranteed to be at a certain level that they are not.
I mean, to be fair though, he's in a position of his own, like nose tackle. Like there's normally not hardly any nose tackles that come out and can be even considered to be rated, close to the top 10. This guy, it's him and nobody else.
So that's what I mean. He's got to fit that defensive scheme probably where.
And it's out there, that 3-4 defense, the 3-4
Mm-hmm.
defensive scheme. They use a nose tackle. So he's going to fit somebody that may need his services. And if he happens to fall like deep into day 3, he's going to be a steal for someone.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of those probably big defensive teams too that are out there that do that. So I mean, that could be scary for them. All right, Joe or Cody, let's go take a look at yours there too, because your 8 and 9 players are different from anything that Joe's had here too. So let's talk about them for a bit here.
All right, so we'll move on. Was it Jared Clark? Yeah, Gerard Clark. That's next. This dude is another one of those guys who's just huge. He is 6'4", 330, and he has the ability to impact everything in the game, whether it's the pass or the run. But right now, he's a little more like a heavy run stopper. He showed potential in terms of getting some pressures, not many sacks in terms, so that's why I keep him under a guy like Ika. But this guy's potential might even be a little higher. We haven't really gotten to see it at a school like Coastal Carolina. You know, he's played against a lot of lower competition, so you don't know if he's going to be able to compete at that next level. But with this guy, he's got the size, he's got the speed, like it's there. It's probably going to have to be developed because he's been at this low-tier school. But the potential is very much there with this guy, and this is someone who you can get in like the 5th round. So you're not investing much, but you have a potential high payoff with this kind of guy. Now, Joe, did you look into Gerard Clark at all?
No, didn't need to.
Oh, okay.
Didn't need to at all. He didn't make my list. He didn't make my honorable mentions.
Oh, boom. There you go. So
He's not even on my radar.
So
That's
there you
okay.
go. So what do you got? Number 9 here, Cody.
Oh, this is a guy I know I was probably the only one that looked at. He's pretty deep in the draft. Broderick Martin, I think he is one of the biggest guys in this whole draft. He is like 6'5". Most of the season he played around 350. This dude is huge, but he's so fast off the snap. That's like when I was watching his tape, I'm just like, this dude for his size is really just getting up so fast, and he's just tossing the lineman back. And it's something, there's not a lot there in terms of his moves, in terms of his overall like productivity, but the potential for this guy is very high. It's just that kind of guy who's going to need to like sit for a season or two. In the meantime, he can come in on rundowns because of his size alone, but maybe he can develop into something that really no one saw coming. This is a 6th round pick. You're not investing really anything. So to get a guy like that could maybe turn into a starter down the line is always very cool to see as someone who really like looks at each round of the draft every year.
Yeah, and you might be lucky enough to where he's an undrafted free agent for someone to just pick him up.
Yeah.
Because of his, because of his size, because of the what if factor. If he develops the right way, can he do these other things that is needed to be done at the next level? The one thing that I'm concerned about at the next level for him is that he might struggle with these top-notch linemen at the next level. And because he doesn't have great pass rush moves, because he struggles sometimes to get off blocks, he's a mountain of a man, but he doesn't play like it. He plays like he's a smaller figure of himself. So for me, at the next level, he's definitely going to be a developmental type of guy that you're going to try to work with for the next 2 to 3 years, and hopefully you can get something out of him in the end.
All right, and finally rounding out the list for D tackles here for you guys, Zach Pickens.
Same 10.
Yeah, there you go. Wow, something's
Yeah.
the same for once here.
Yeah, Zach Pickens from South Carolina. This is a dude that he's been a late riser in terms of the draft. A guy that is 6'4", 290. A guy that I've seen decent mover, has surprising quickness for his size. He has the ability, and his weight has fluctuated from like 300 to 290. But I think at the next level, he'll definitely sit at 300. But he looks the part, has natural abilities at that position. And I think he's very good at stopping the run. He's pretty decent, not the best at it, but he's pretty decent at pass rush. He still needs to work more into his game. But another nice prospect that, I have him at 10. And I think if he does the right things at the next level, he could find himself into a starting lineup.
Yeah, the reason he ended up down at 10 for me is this guy coming out of high school is a very high expectation guy. He was a 5-star athlete, very heavily recruited, and he's just kind of like, he hasn't really lived up to that. He played a lot last season. Like, he didn't have to take snaps off. He has a very high snap count, but there wasn't really a lot of productivity for having all those snaps. Like, it's cool you're always in there, but like, you gotta do something. You can't just kind of exist out there. Like, he has all the tools to be a top tier player, but I haven't really seen anything other than like, oh, maybe he could do this, maybe he could do that. That's why I was happy to have him on the list, but he barely even made the list on mine at least.
There you go. You just rounded out the list on that one. It seemed like the same kind of with Joe too as well. But again, when you look at some of these guys too, as you're talking about prospects for these guys, they might fall further down in the draft, but you want to take a look at them all, and who knows, if they develop properly, you might see them turn into some of these bigger names out there, or somebody that's actually just productive for the team and doing their role. Like we said, even about the one player talking about in a 3-4 defense on a team that even has the great linebackers that are the pass rushers already for them, and then you got that mountain of man on the inside. I mean, that sounds amazing for that defense. Absolutely. Right. So,
real quick, I wanted to name a few honorable mentions for this class. Okay. For D-tackle, Byron Young from Tennessee, Jalen Redmond from Oklahoma, Moro Ojomo from Texas, a guy that I really like, Thomas Incoom from Central Michigan, not your Michigan, but Central Michigan.
Central Michigan, the one that doesn't matter.
Kendra Coburn from Texas, Gervon Dexter from Florida. Gervon, I was kind of disappointed in. I thought this guy's a 5-star recruit. Yep. I thought he was going to develop into something. You watch him on tape, and it's like he's an afterthought. Every single snap, he can't get off his blocks. Guy's tremendously big. He's 6'6", 300-plus pounds, and he's athletic. I was expecting more from him. I thought he was going to be higher on my list. I wanted to put him on my list. I just couldn't because there was no production. And the production that he ended up getting in Florida was mostly because of his own teammates.
Yep.
Like, they forced the running back inside to him, or the quarterback was rushing outside, and then, oh crap, that's not working. I'm going to run back, and then Dexter was there.
And then there was there to clean up. That was his highlights.
It's just
cleaning up.
It's like he has potential, and if you're willing to work with him, maybe you can untap it. But at this point, I just don't see enough. But I do like maybe getting him as an undrafted prospect.
All right, going to our list now. Next up, we have their top 10 edge rushers here. Let's take a look at the list here, too. Again, we're going to see some familiar names here too as well, especially one I cannot pronounce still, but I'm not going to try. Yep. But here we go. And again, instantly right there, we've got different names at the tops and all over the place. So what the hell are we looking at here? Let's go into it. Let's do Tyree Wilson, I guess, because again, that's different, and maybe we just won't talk to Cody until we get to Joe's number 4, maybe. Not sure. But no, there's just gonna be different though, because even again, when you got Lucas Van Ness here down at 9, Cody, and you've got Joe has him at 3. I mean, there's a difference there. So I'm seeing what you guys have different with that situation here. But again, Tyree Wilson here, you've got him further down in your list here at 6. Joe, why do you got him at number 1 here, buddy?
Got him at number 1 because he's going to be that damn good at the next level. Like, this guy, you cannot teach his length in his arms. He's got the longest arms in the draft. I mean, guy's already got the size, 6'6", 275. He's got size. He's got length. He's got some speed for his size. He's not quick twitch off the ball, but neither are most of these edge rushers. So for Tyree Wilson, I'm projecting, because this guy, he does need to work on a little bit of his pass rush moves, what have you, maybe timing of the ball at the snap. But overall, this prospect is ready to go. This guy's going to make a big difference at the next level, whoever drafts him. And you're starting to hear now out of the draft is that Tyree Wilson is starting to get pushed up the board a little farther, and now is rivaling guys like Will Anderson. There's some teams out there that might have Tyree Wilson rated above Will Anderson at this point, because they are kind of like the same type of players, but one has faster 40 time, but he has shorter arms. At the next level, he may struggle, despite what a lot of people think about Will Anderson. But Tyree Wilson, to me, he's already ready to go. I think at the next level, this guy's he's gonna get even better with the right coaching and what have you. So for me, there's no question when you watch his tape, and I know a lot of people get kind of caught on with like the smaller, faster type of edge rushers. But for me, Tyree Wilson is a guy that can fit multiple facets of any defense. A guy that is super versatile. He could be that 3-4 edge linebacker, rush off the edge. He could be that 4-3 base D end. He can be a hybrid defensive edge rusher. So for me, Tyree Wilson is easily the number 1, and it's not even close.
So the reason I had Tyree lower, I guess where it starts is I don't think he has the speed to be a successful edge rusher at the next level. Like, we've seen it. It's not impossible, but 4.82 at the edge would be very rare to see. And when I'm watching the tape, a couple things that stand out is I don't think this guy fires off the snap as fast as a lot of these other guys in this class. You know, he relies very much on, I'm going to go right through you rather than I'm going to do a swim move. I'm going to hammer. I'm stronger than you, so I'm just going to throw you at the quarterback. And it's just kind of the things I'm like, this dude, I think he can be good, especially if he moved into the interior. He's probably one of the best interior rushers in the class, but at what I've seen from him so far, I couldn't justify putting him in my top 5 even.
I mean, the other thing too about Wilson is he's super bendy. He has way more bend than any of these other edge rushers, and for me, I think that he's only going to get better at the next level for sure. I have no question he will be a really good D end at the next level.
All right, Joe, you've got Nolan Smith here from Georgia here at number 2. Cody's got him down a little bit here. Only at number 4, though. So, again, we're maybe splitting hairs in here. But what do you got?
Nolan Smith, tremendous athlete. I mean, that's one thing that everybody knows about him now. 6'2", 238, a shade under 240. But this is a guy that can play anywhere. We've seen him do a lot of different things at Georgia. He was the defensive end, but he's super twitchy, super quick off the ball, has tremendous speed, and you have to expect that for a guy his size. Very strong, can hold his own against any of the offensive tackles in college football, which is amazing. And then other than that, this is a guy that we don't know what position he's going to have at the next level. He can be that end if he adds a few more pounds, maybe 10 to 15 more pounds. He could be that pass rushing edge guy that you want him to be. Or he could play 4-3 off the ball at outside linebacker because he's done coverage at Georgia. They asked him at times to play zone defense. They've asked him at times to cover tight ends and did it amazingly, seamlessly. So for Nolan Smith, he has so much untapped potential. It's where you want to place this guy. That's why he's so high on my list, is because not maybe necessarily I view him as a D end right now at this point, but going forward at the next level, you know he's going to bulk up before week 1. You know he's going to, if he's going to play edge, or even if he was to go outside linebacker, could also play in the 3-4. So tremendous upside with him, and he's a student of the game. Like, he's all about football. He doesn't care about anything else. Great character, great kid. To me, the ceiling is not even high enough.
Yet Nolan Smith, this guy is just, to put it simply, he's a freak at this position. He ran a 4.39. That is faster than almost every receiver in this class, coming off the edge. And this guy, the thing I noticed in his tape is linemen just struggle to even get a hand on him. He's so, does a little juke, a little shimmy. This dude is hard to even touch, and if you guess wrong, if you guess inside, he goes outside, and vice versa, it's over. This guy's so fast, he's explosive, he has coverage abilities. No matter what position he goes to, this guy is probably going to be incredible at the next level, and just terrifying to see him coming off the edge for some of these quarterbacks. He'll just be snap of the fingers, and he's just in.
Yeah, Nolan Smith is a special prospect for any team.
All right, Joe, here, let's take a look at your number 3 while we're here again, too. And Lucas Van Ness here, we got him down here at number 9 here with Cody here. So let's talk about what you think and why you have him up here all the way here at 3. And then we'll go to Cody and say, what's the difference here? Why you maybe took a step back on him and dropped him back to number 9.
So Lucas Van Ness from Iowa, 6'5", 270. He's enormous. Let's just say what it is. He's enormous. He's super strong, superhuman strength is what you see on tape. Yep. This is a guy that does not have a lot of pass rush moves, hardly at all. All he does is bull rush you at college. And when you look at his production, it's limited because as a junior, the seniors had to start. At Iowa, this is how they do it. They always have the seniors start no matter what. So Lucas Van Ness was in rotation, yes. Lucas Van Ness didn't get on the field enough, yes. But when you look at the production for the amount of times he was on the field, it's insane. I mean, sacks, tackles. This guy's just utter disruptor of a D lineman. So And he's versatile because he has tremendous strength. And when you look at, like, a lot of people might point at, oh, well, he only benched 17 reps at the combine. So, do you know how long his limbs are? You know how much that weight has to travel up and back down? That's insane. So he has tremendous strength. I have no question about him playing at the next level. Like, he's obviously has to get worked on his pass rush moves, but other than that, this guy is a phenomenal athlete and a phenomenal prospect at the next level. Lucas Van Ness, to me, I have him as a number 3 overall, but he's also versatile, can play inside or outside. So whoever does draft him, notice they're definitely getting a starter on day one.
All right, so why I had him a bit lower, you already kind of touched on it with his kind of lack of pass rush moves, is this class of edge rushers is one of the best I've seen in years. And a lot of other classes, I probably have Van Ness easily in my top 5, but there are so many complete players coming out in this draft that are very dominant right now. I don't have any questions about their ability to pass rush. I don't have any questions about if they can play inside or out. I question a little bit if Van Ness can play edge at the next level. I think interior, same kind of thing I have with Tyree Wilson. I think he'd be great on the interior. I don't, looking at his tape, I didn't really see anything like come off the screen to me. As all the guys above him, they all just kind of like jumped out to me.
And that's the thing, is you're looking for that freak factor. Well, these guys are prototypical DNs. You're not going to see the quick twitch. You're not going to see the 4.40s, but what you're going to see is guys that can set the edge. So when a team does run outside, you're not going that way. That guy already has his edge set, isn't going to get pushed out of his spot and make the play. So that's why I have those two bigger DNs higher on my list.
Yeah, we just have different taste in edge rushers, basically.
All right, yeah, let's take a look now at Cody's spot here, because right now Joe's got Will Anderson at number 4, but Cody, you have him here at number 1. So let's see what separated him from everybody that we've already talked about here with Joe had up further. What set Will Anderson apart for you to make him your number 1?
So this guy, he has been like one of the top defensive players in college football for about 3 seasons now. He is the only player in college football history to ever win the Defensive Player of the Year honors twice. No one, no Aaron Donald, none of those guys have ever accomplished that feat. This guy is a great pass rusher. He is great in coverage. He destroys the run. He's 6'4", 250. He's still got speed to him. I don't know what Joe doesn't like about him, but I couldn't really find anything that I didn't like about this guy. And I think day one, he's just going to come in and he's just going to be one of those superstar players. I don't think he's going to bust. I just think this dude's going to come in. He's going to be borderline like team captain level. And I don't think he's even going to miss a beat.
So for Will Anderson, when you watch the tape, he struggles against the run, gets pushed around. He is strong for his size, but at the next level, with those premier offensive tackles, he's going to struggle a lot more. And a lot of teams might be their game plan, is to run to his side because they're going to bully him out of his spot. Will Anderson, he's not twitchy. And that's kind of something that I was hoping for. With a guy with his speed at 250, the prototypical pass rusher that you would like on the edge to just go after the quarterback is not even twitchy. He's not quick off the ball. I had a lot of issues with him, even in his stats. You look at his 2 years ago, that was his most productive year. Was absolutely insane of a season. And then this past year, everything dipped down. The production wasn't as high as the year before. So that kind of concerns me. Like, now what does that mean? Does that mean that they have better talent that year, so everybody was in on it? Or is it him just kind of regressing? We're not going to know that. So for Will Anderson going at the next level, that's why I have him a little lower than some of these other guys.
Right, so something I'd say, I think we actually made the argument for a couple guys earlier, is this guy is coming off, it was a Defensive Player of the Year the season prior, so there was no one sleeping on this guy anymore. He was seeing double teams were game planning for specifically this guy every week, so that would probably show you the production dip a little bit, but this guy still had double-digit sacks and a lot of plays in the run game, in my opinion, last season. So,
Everything was lower than
yeah.
2 years ago. So that was the problem for me.
Well, yeah, it's before
And
he won Defensive Player of the Year.
when you watch him on the field against better competition, he was a non-factor a lot of times. And
A
a lot of times those stats that you saw last season, they were reflection of the other team making a play to force them right back to him. So he wasn't as impactful as I was hoping for this season. That's why he's lower on my list, is because I was hoping for an ascending player yet again this season to even come close to the numbers that he had 2 years ago, and maybe even go beyond that.
Yeah.
That to me would have escalated him to be my number one overall. But because of that dip in terms of production and the things that I think he's going to struggle with at the next level, that's why he's a little lower. Still think the guy's going to be an amazing player. I'm not saying that. I'm not talking shit about him and saying he's going to be a shitty player. I'm just saying I just don't see him as that consensus number one like everybody is pushing him up as, because there's guys like this that are freakish. Like we even talked about, Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith is one of the freakiest dudes coming out this draft.
Yep.
Now, he could end up being a bust as much as we're all talking and believe in him. It's not far-fetched to see that. And same thing could be said for Will Anderson or any one of these other guys. So I just think that, like, when we were looking at the tape, we saw a couple different things. And for me, at the next level, I kind of envision a guy that's already ready to go with size that you can teach over the course of the season. I think he's got a little bit bigger of a high upside in terms of Wilson.
All right, next let's take a look at Cody's number 3 here now. And now is that biased? Yeah, your biased opinion here, maybe with the Ojulari or what? Or but you got him there at number 3, and Joe's got him here at number 6 here. So what made him be your number 3 here for you?
All right, so what jumps off to me is while this guy only had like I think it was just one starting season. LSU's deep every year on defense. This guy was one of the top players in all of college football in terms of his pass rush. Maybe you can work on his toughness going against the run next season, but 50 pressures in your first ever starting season is great. My biggest issue with this guy is I really wish he would have stayed in college longer. He's still young. I believe he's only a sophomore coming out this year, and so he's going to be a guy you're going to need to develop a little bit in this for a season or two. But his upside, 50 pressures in your first starting action in college football is insane.
It's impressive for sure.
This guy, on his potential alone, I just had to throw him into my top 5.
So for the rest of the top 10, all these guys to me should be in the same spot because they're all scheme-specific type of players. They're all guys that they could be really good at the next level, but they all need development and they all need a position. Because in college, these guys played a lot of different positions. B.J. Ojulari was hands down one of the best pass rushers this season. A guy that was just he lived in the backfield. Might as well just paid rent back there. A guy that is always getting after it. But at the next level, that's all I see him as, is he's just going to be a pass rusher. Now, does that mean maybe he could stay 255 maybe? If he stays 255, 260 even, if you want to add some strength, they could put him at D end. But he could also play 3-4, linebacker and just blaze off the edge after the quarterback. So teams are going to have to figure out what they're getting in Ojulari in terms of, can they get any versatility at him? Could he maybe develop coverage part of his game if he was to be a linebacker? So that's something that teams are going to play with coming up into this draft. And they probably already figured it out. But for BJ, for me, like, he's just going to be a pass rusher. And I almost wanted to put him lower just because of that.
Alrighty, here let's take a look at your list. Like you said, the last couple here, they might as well be at the same type of position, and so is that what you're saying? Again, they're not that, they don't give you say a lot of that whole twitchy type of thing, the twitch factor. Is that what it is?
Not everybody has that. No, not everybody has that. That's something that is a rarity when you see in terms of edge rushers. Like Von Miller's twitchy. You just see it on the film back at Texas A&M. The guy, the ball was snapped. He's already past the tackle. Like he just explodes off the snap. And that's what twitchy is being about. Like Wilson doesn't have it. Nolan Smith does have it. Van Ness doesn't have it. He is quick, but he doesn't have that twitch explosion because obviously the guy of his size. Guys like Adetomiwa Adebawore has it. Will Anderson doesn't have it. You know, and then when we look at BJ is quick, but I don't think he's twitchy. I don't think he's like Von Miller. Otherwise, he'd be probably number one.
Would you say any of these players have spazz?
They all have spazz, all of them, because
All spadazzle.
when you do a top
Excellent.
10 and you're in the draft is super deep for any position, like it's insane. So
Excellent.
what do we have at 7?
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, it's 7 here. You got Tuli Tuipulotu.
Tupulotu.
Boom. It's
Tuli
like I'm learning
Tuipulotu from
new
USC.
language in front of your eyes.
This guy has decent size. He's 266, but they used him uniquely in college. At USC, they had him playing sometimes at middle linebacker. Sometimes they had him at playing outside linebacker. Sometimes they had his hand in the dirt or standing up off the edge. I don't know what position he's going into next level. But super talented player. A guy we talk about, B.J. Ojolari. This is another guy who I would say is kind of still under the radar in terms of his pass rushing prowess. This is a guy for USC that could rush inside, could rush outside, could do a lot of different things for USC. And he just got in the backfield. He created havoc. He was after quarterbacks. They were scared for their lives. But Tuli is a unique prospect. I'm not 100% sure what his position is going to be, but he is going to rush the quarterback. And that's why I have him at 7.
All right. Any rebuttals, Cody, on that one?
I do not know a lot about the player. I assume it's more to the positional changes. It's what's probably kept him lower on draft boards, and why I might have like glazed over him or something,
Yep.
and like, oh, this production isn't even worth like my time or something.
Cody
I don't
doesn't know who
know.
he is.
I don't know much about him.
You didn't go. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But you do know a lot about Keon White here, who was at your number 7 here. So why don't you tell us about that?
Ooh, let me scroll.
Scroll down your
All
thing.
right, got it. All right, so this guy, he's a very big dude, and in the open field, he has hit some incredible speeds. Even at one point in college, he hit running an astonishing 21 miles per hour on the field, which at that size is incredible. But right now, he's a player who is just a lot of potential. You know, we haven't seen the best of him outside of like, there was one incredible game he had against, I think it was North Carolina, where he had like 3 sacks, 4 tackles for a loss, and that's where we got to see the Keon White potential. But that's the only time we really got to see him at his height. Other than that, you know, he's like decent game here and decent game there. He's fast, he's strong. We just got to see that, you know, difference maker more than just once in a blue moon.
Absolutely. And right there at number 8 now, you have Derek Hall, too. And again, Joe has him here at number 10 here. So why don't you tell us about Derek Hall quick here for your number 8, why you don't have him towards the end here.
All right, so for Derek Hall, he's had 2 very good seasons. I believe he has 18 sacks over the last year. He's another one of those big guys coming off the edge, 6'3", 255, and he still runs a 4.5, which is great. At the next level, even if, you know, maybe he's got some pass rushing moves to work on, but that's still excellent. And this is a guy who, in the tougher games, the thing I noticed is he played up to that level. He almost played down a little bit against the lower competition. And when it came to playing your ranked teams, your top 5 teams, this dude was electric. He was still in the backfield tackling the best players in the country, guys we've raved on and on about. He just slipped down a little bit because we didn't always see that in the lower tier games. He would tend to play down a little bit, play a little more average against average competition, which might speak to maybe his lack of discipline, something like that.
All right, Joe, what do you got him there?
Derek Hall, he is a monster. Let's just say that. The guy he blazes off the edge. He converts speed to power tremendously. And that's kind of what jumped off the tape for me. Guy that was just like, no fucks given. I'm coming after your quarterbacks. You're not going to stop me. And I watched the Tennessee tape where there's going to be potential like top 10 type of a left tackle that he went up against and put him in the ground and sacked Hendon Hooker. Like Hendon Hooker couldn't even get the ball off. Like this guy is, I view him on tape. He does have that twitch factor. He does have that explosiveness that you look for in a pass rusher. And honestly, he could be higher up, but there's still nuances to his game he still needs to work on. He's terrible against the run.
Oh, yeah.
And that's going to be, a big deal going at the next level. Definitely has to develop that part of his game. If he can do that, he could put himself right up here in the mix here in the top 5. But that's why I have him a little bit lower. But man, pass rushing ability and the fact that he has that blazing speed to combine that with the size that he already has, there's definitely a high ceiling for him at the next level.
All right, and finally here, let's look at Myles Murphy here because Cody had him here at his number 2. Maybe, again, he just like Cody has that certain guy, again, that's like kind of just go and muscle a dude out type of deal. Like I think he was saying with here, Will Anderson, and Joe likes the guys with the twitch factor here. It's now Cody. What's the difference here that made him your number 2 type of guy here? And then we'll get to Joe on why he is ranked number 9 for him.
Okay, so with this guy, I think he's an extremely versatile edge rusher. I like a lot of those guys who they can do a bit of everything. They can rush, they can help with the run, they can even step back and maybe help in the pass game. While Myles Murphy wasn't asked to do that a lot, he didn't do poorly when that was asked of him. He was one of the top guys in all of college football in terms of pressures. Didn't matter which game it was. He was getting in the quarterback's face, and he is a great tackler. Like, I get, Clemson. I know a little bit of the nostalgia, but this guy, he's got great stamina. He's great against the run. He's great against the pass. I think this guy's just going to be a very good day one starter with elite potential.
And you just described Clelin Ferrell. Congratulations.
That's why I mentioned Clemson.
From the same college, about the same size, same kind of production. There were times when I watched the film on him and he struggled big time against big competition. He dominated the lower level linemen, but when it came time to playing the big dudes, the big guys that are going into this draft with him, he struggled. If they get their hands on him, he's done. He does have tremendous speed for his size. He does a wicked, just probably the best spin move out of this draft I've ever seen. And that definitely is going to help him at the next level with his pass rush. But overall, there was too many negatives overall for me at the next level that he's going to play this higher competition of tackles all the time, every single week. And I fear that he's going to be a overblown sensation media-wise, and at the next level is going to be average at best. So that's one thing that I'm concerned about. Yes, I have a little bit of a backlash with Clelin Ferrell, and
He's been hurt before.
But we've seen this kind of guy before. We've seen this guy that explodes in terms of his, he's got the measurements, he's got the strength, he's got the pass rush moves. He can play good against the run. He can do well against the pass. What can he do? He does everything well, and that's, to me, that kind of spells out an average player at the next level. Doesn't do anything great. But he will be a solid player for someone, but I don't think he's going to be worth a high-value pick at all.
Reality is often disappointing.
Yes, and our guy Drew Boylehart was big on Clelin Ferrell, and look what happens again. So, you said people have been burned.
Here's the one thing that I'll say about Clelin Ferrell that Myles Murphy won't experience most likely is being moved around too much. Like Clelin Ferrell, when he came in, yes, he should not have been picked 4th overall at all. I agree with that. And a lot of people were like, what the hell's happening? But Myles Murphy, he's so similar to Ferrell. I think he'll be better at the next level. I just don't think he'll be great. And that's kind of what you're hoping for if you do take him early. But for Clelin Ferrell at the next level, they're like, here, play D-end. Oh, we want you at D-tackle. Nope, this season we want you at D-end. Hey, can you play 3-4 edge for us? Like, they moved him around. He never got to develop fully as a D-end or as just a D-tackle or whatever they wanted him to be. They kept moving him around so much that how are you supposed to develop as anything? You don't even know what your position is every season.
right.
So for Furl, I'm glad that he signed with the Niners. Maybe they're going to use him right, and we might see that first round potential with San Fran. Miles Murphy, he's so similar. I don't think he's going to have to experience that the next level. I think whatever team does take him, they're going to use him as is a D end. But I don't think he's going to be anything great like some people are trying to push him up the boards to be.
All right, that's right. We were talking about the 2023 NFL Draft top defensive players here. Let's move on to the linebackers now here, Joe and Cody. Let's see what your list here. All right, see if anything's different. Oh, we've got some similarities here. All right, and again, we've got a bunch of these players here that I've noticed here now are hybrid players moving into different positions here too, so they've fallen on some of your guys' same lists here as well. But both of you guys agree here, at least at number one here, with Jack Campbell here. So Iowa. So Cody, why don't you take it away here first for us?
So this guy, in terms of linebackers, is going to be one of the most perfect guys you will see in general in this entire class. Like, he has the build. He's 6'4", 250. He's not slow. He's great in coverage. He has excellent instincts against the run. He's shown to be a leader on the defense. I don't even think I really have any red flags for this guy. I think
Shocker.
he's going to be a day one starter.
You sure he doesn't wear the wrong shoes?
He might wear the wrong shoes. I didn't look into that. I'll have to do that after the show. But for now, I think Jack Campbell is... There's no perfect player, but I
Don't
think
say
he's
it.
going to be a day one starter almost for sure. And he's someone that might not even go in the first round. He's not even a guaranteed first round pick.
No, and that's the insane part for Jack Campbell.
be a
Like, Jack
day
Campbell
2 pick.
is amazing. He's like the best middle linebacker I've seen the last 5 years.
Yep.
And that's including Devin White. That's including all those guys. This guy does everything extremely well. He plays the run superbly, is a student of the game, has high football IQ, and the guy is just a gamer. He's like your typical middle of the linebacker that you plug and play and you don't have to worry about. And if you're worried about, maybe, I don't know, how good is he on coverage? Well, I saw some plays that would blow your mind. For a guy at 6'5" and runs a 4.6 40, tremendous speed for a guy that size. I saw him do he picked off the ball one-handed. Like, this guy is going to be off the charts good. Like, thanks for the treat, amazing. And honestly, he could compete for Rookie Defensive Player of the Year. I have that much hope on Jack Campbell. At the next level, he's going to come to work. He's going to be all business, and he's going to get it done on Sundays. Jack Campbell is going to be absolutely fucking amazing.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Yep,
This
we
even
can definitely
bringing
agree
an
on that.
endorsement by Joe right there. So you said it here. All right, Cody, let's get to your number two here.
I'm definitely going to butcher this name, but it's Henry, and it's something fancy like that.
It's a pause.
Yeah, I
it's
like
a
it.
pause in
Toe-o-toe.
between O's.
Yeah,
So
I can say that one.
Thank you for helping clear that up. So I think a lot of people are kind of like overthinking this guy because he's not the biggest.
I'm not overthinking at all.
Right.
Maybe you're not a lot of people. I don't know. But this guy, he's only 6'1", 220, and he doesn't, he's not an insane blazer for that size. But I think if this guy bulks up a bit, he's been extremely productive while he's been at Bama. While he can be like, oh, it's Bama. Like, he's got so much talent around him. But this guy is the centerpiece. The middle linebacker, you are the center of everything. You have to be able to cover. You have to be able to stop against the run. And this dude, in my opinion, was very good at both, with the only room to improve. And I just thought he was a bit more complete than a lot of the other guys that I'll be talking about as we.
Definitely not going to play outside. I don't know where he's going to play. At the very least, he actually might get converted to safety at this point.
I could see it.
From Alabama, he's 6'1", 220. He doesn't have blazing speed. He's not quick change of direction skills. So for me, I definitely could see him getting converted to a safety, and then he's going to have to develop at that position to get more acclimated to it. So For me, Henry is not even in my top 10 and not even in my honorable mentions.
Wow. All right.
Boom. Bang. Kicked off the list.
It
All
happens.
right. Yeah. So why don't we already talked about Nolan Smith a little bit here. So why don't we go right to Joe, your number 3 pick, and that is Trenton Simpson.
Trenton Simpson is, by all accounts, one of the better outside linebacker prospects coming out. 6'2", 235. Yes, he does need to bulk up, and he has more room to bulk up, too. That's the crazy part. He is absolutely chiseled. Like, there's not an ounce of fat on this guy, and he runs a blazing 4.4, by the way. And there were some reports saying that he timed lower than that at his pro day. So this guy, tremendous ball skills, is good in coverage, but when he makes his mind up, and I think the read and react part of his game needs work, but when he reads and reacts and commits to the play, this guy just explodes. Like he's already there. I've seen him play cover 3 before where they're just dropping back, and then he recognizes that it's going to be a pitch out to the running back, and he's already there by the time the running back catches the ball. So Trenton Simpson, to me, has high potential, but he needs to work on certain parts of his game to get better at the next level. But I think he can do that with he's gotten away with his physical attributes, let's just say, in college. But I think at the next level, he's going to have to do a lot more homework. And if he does that, I think this guy's going to be amazing.
Cody.
Yeah, kind of the reason he dipped down mine is similar to what Joe was saying, is right now this guy he's a lot of potential. You know, with 4.4 speed at the middle linebacker spot, you have the ability to do everything, and he's shown the instincts to get there on the run. I just want to see it a little more consistently. I want to see him get a little better in coverage. I want to see his read and react ability to just get better in the NFL. And if he can do those, then he can be incredible. Just right now, the guys I have higher, I believe they're just more complete prospects as of right now.
All right, let's take a look at the list here now. So then getting to your number 3, Cody, why don't we talk about Dorian Williams here from Tulane there here that you have at number 3.
Yeah, so this is a guy I think a lot of teams are sleeping on, and it almost kind of bothers me because this guy's not supposed to go until the 4th round, and this dude is fast. He's a tackle machine. He had over 100 tackles last season. There are not many players in all of college football that had over 100 tackles, and this guy did that at Tulane. I know he might be the only one on that team that could tackle, but regardless, this guy can do a bit of everything. I could even see him moving to safety if a team needs him to. This dude's great. Could maybe bulk up a little bit because he's a little bit on the smaller side. You know, you're going to hear me say that with basically almost every linebacker prospect on my list. They're all very small, but we've seen guys come in smaller and then they bulk up because it's NFL conditioning. You know, everyone questioned Patrick Queen. Oh, he's a little bit on the smaller side, and then he's immediately one of the top guys in the NFL at that position. And I think with Dorian Williams, I think someone's going to draft him on day 3, and he's going to immediately jump into a starting spot. And everyone's like, oh, where'd this guy come from? And they can look back at our show and be like, well, Joe and Cody called that out.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing about Dorian Williams is I wanted to put him up higher, but because I had so many other guys that were either just as skilled or I believe that they're just better at one thing, is why I have him higher. But Dorian Williams is one of my guys that I am not sleeping on at all. When you watch the tape, for a guy his size at 6'1", 228, right? You're thinking as a middle linebacker, he's going to get pushed around in the run game. He's not going to be able to contest with these bigger guys. But amazingly, this guy finds a way to make the play. Like against the run, he's one of the better middle linebackers against the run. And you wouldn't know it by his size. But, oh yeah, he also runs a 4.40. Like, has tremendous speed for him. And yeah, you could say, oh, well, it's because of his size. Yeah, maybe. But I'm telling you, you put another 10, maybe even 15 pounds on this guy at the next level, and he's just going to get bigger. He's going to get bigger and better at the next level because they're all going to work out. So for Williams, also one of the best linebackers in terms of pass coverage. He's off the charts. He's amazing. So you're wondering, like, why is he so far down some people's lists, or why is he not on a list? And it's because everyone's pointing to the factor of right now what he is. He's 228. He's short, 6'1". People don't like short linebackers anymore. And that's kind of why he gets pulled down. And the fact that he played at Tulane. Big freaking deal. The production is there. He dominated at that level. He's a sideline to sideline type of linebacker, especially with that speed and quickness that he has. And also phenomenal coverage ability. The guy can literally do everything that you need a linebacker to do. So at the next level, maybe early on in his career, he'll be an outside linebacker. Until he gets bulked up and a little bit bigger, then maybe he can switch to middle. So I think this is the Tyreek Woolen situation for me. I was very high on Tyreek Woolen last year, and I was like, somebody got to take this guy. Like, why is he slipping? I don't understand. What am I not seeing? Seattle took him in the 4th round. He ends up being the next great corner. And I see this in Dorian Williams. I see this guy slipping in the draft, and early day 3, maybe late day 2 is like the best projection I could give. But either way, whoever drafts this kid is going to get themselves a player.
All right. Here we go. Let's take a look at the list here again. We are talking about the linebackers here for this year's draft. Let's go. What do you think? Let's go with Joe's. How about this? Joe, let's take off here. Wait, where you just left off here with Drew Sanders here for your number 4 here coming out at Arkansas.
Yeah, Drew Sanders, I love the kid. A lot of people are kind of, dummying him down in a sense in terms of as we get closer to the draft. Some people are like, oh, well, there's some holes in his game. He still needs to develop. He's great at blitzing. That's what everyone keeps highlighting. Yeah, he's a phenomenal blitzer. Another guy that has very long length at 6'4", close to 250, but still needs to I think he needs to get stronger at the next level, needs to fill out his frame a little bit better, but still blazing fast, has tremendous height. He's the prototypical linebacker, but he needs to work more on coverage in his game, especially zone coverage. Man-to-man, I think he can kind of curb that at the next level a little bit better. But overall, everyone just views this guy, Drew Sanders, as just a blitzer, and I think he was asked to do a lot at Arkansas, not just to blitz, but also played middle, played outside, did everything well. Phenomenal tackler, and for me, this is another prospect that I think is easily going to go day 2, because like Jack Campbell, believe it or not, is projected to go in day 2 as well. I see Drew Sanders as another one of those guys that are going to end up in day 2.
I might have just overlooked his name. I don't know a whole lot about Drew Sanders, honestly. When I was scrolling, maybe if he's a day 2 guy, I might have just went by him by mistake.
Well, that's the crazy thing is early in the draft process, guys like Jack Campbell and Drew Sanders were easily the top 2 linebackers. Like everybody consensus-wise were saying, yo, Drew Sanders, Jack Campbell, everybody was debating between the two, who's better than the other, but it's no question it's got to be Jack. But Drew, he has size, he has the ability, but again, he still needs to develop his game a little bit better, much like Trenton Simpson.
All right, take a look at the list here. Let's look at Cody here at number 4 with Diane Hanley out of Washington State. Joe has him here at number 10 here. Now, Cody, why do you have him so high?
So this is a very weird prospect. Over the last 2 seasons, he's been asked to do 2 drastically different things. 2 seasons ago, he was asked to be a run stopper who can help out in the pass, and he was very good at that. I think he even had like 6 interceptions 2 seasons ago, and you got to kind of see that prototypical linebacker, and then he transfers over to Washington State, and things get a little weirder. He's not playing coverage very much. He's blitzing a lot, but what that kind of stuck out to me is this guy's versatility. He can help a lot in the pass rush game because he was able to pile up a lot of sacks last season. In the season prior, we kind of got to see that coverage. So I'm looking at a guy who can help in the run, a guy who can cover, a guy who also now has those instincts to help against the pass. And I'm like, I think this guy's just going to come in. He might need a little bit of coaching because Washington State isn't an amazing organization, but he is very complete. He is one of the more complete guys in this class, and that's why he kind of like skyrocketed up my board because I didn't see anything wrong with him on tape. Despite, last season, you look at like, his coverage numbers weren't as good, and like he just didn't cover much. This guy was blitzing or coming up and bluffing a blitz and then falling back into coverage, and that's where some of those numbers will fall off. You're not going to be in that good of a spot. If you're all the way up at the line, then you have to fade back and they hit a quick pass to the tight end. Now you just got to make the tackle. Like, I think this guy's going to be a steal where he is going to end up being drafted.
Yeah, I feel much the same way about, Diane as for me, when I watched the tape, he didn't have tremendous, he didn't jump off the page. I was expecting him to jump off the page because a lot of people got him pushed up higher, and I didn't see it happen. There just wasn't enough there for me. Play to play now, it easily could be because they asked him to do a couple different things. I know he was very versatile, and that's going to go a long way at the next level. But other than that, I wonder what teams are going to do with him at the next level because I project him to be an outside linebacker at the next level. And I don't know. He's definitely not going to be middle. He's going to be outside. And I wonder, overall, as an outside linebacker, is he going to be able to adapt to that and play at that level in the NFL? So for me, he's a little bit lower. That's why I have him at 10. But again, he is a tremendous prospect coming out, and I do have a lot of hope for him at the next level for sure.
All right. Getting to the list here again now, Cody. We've got Owen Papo. Is that how you say it? Right?
I think
right?
so. I think
Papo.
Papo.
It's
I
Papo.
like
I like it.
Papo a little
It's
more.
Papo.
But Papo probably
Yeah,
because
it's
of the double
Kelsey,
P.
Kels,
Yeah.
it just sounds better. I don't know.
But out of
It's
Auburn
Papo.
here, you got here at number
Say it
5.
right.
We've already talked about B.J. Ojolari here when we were talking about edge rushers here. But Joe seems like he's got him ranked near the same on both lists. So, again, maybe just all-around player, that's good at both, but not, totally near a number 1 at one specific. So let's go here with Owen here down, Cody, at your number 5.
All right, so this guy has blazing speed for the position. To run under a 4.4 as a middle linebacker at that size is just insane. I think 6'2", 240. It isn't the smallest, it's not the biggest, but this dude, he's a sideline-to-sideline player. He was just under 100 tackles, I think 94 last season. And this is a guy who, in the bigger games, he shows up. Maybe he's a little lower. He's not even that low on my list. But in some of those lower games, maybe when you're not playing at this insanely fast pace because the offense is so good, he tends to slow down a little bit. So, a team's going to need to bulk him up and really work with him on maybe some discipline stuff at the next level. But this guy, you're not going to find 4.39 at this size who can do a bit of everything in many drafts, especially in the 4th round when he is projected to go. This is the draft of the linebacker steals because everyone's like, oh, they're all so small. Just move them to safety. I'm like, just bulk them up 10 pounds and they're fine. Who cares if they're a little underweight? They're going into the NFL conditioning, NFL weight training. These guys are probably all going to turn into starters. And everyone's going to look at this draft class wow, these guys were a lot of sleepers.
Yeah, and that's the thing is a lot of these linebackers at the next level definitely need to bulk up. They definitely either have to get bigger or they got to change positions. So at the next level, when you look at a guy like Owen Papo, what kind of stood out to me more than a lot of people except for Dorian Williams is that his coverage ability is off the charts. A guy with that kind of speed, a guy with that kind of change of direction, mirrors his receivers extremely well, plays his zone extremely well. The only kind of knock I guess I would give him is that he's got to trust his eyes more. He's got to just, when he sees the play and thinks it's the play, it's probably the play. Just freaking go. Make the play. And that's kind of what frustrated me a lot on this tape is that there were times when you saw him looking at the play and he's like, okay, is this it? Is this it? Is this it? Should I go now? Should I go now? Should I go? Oh, no, I got to go now. But it was too late then. They already got 5 yards.
Yeah.
If he made the play right away when he was supposed to, then this guy would be talked about in the top 5. Because quite honestly, there's not too many negatives about him. And people are going to say, oh, the weight issue and everything, but that can be handled. That's why you have nutritionists. That's why you have trainers. And the league does a great job of converting the prospects into what they want them to be. So Owen Papo, to me, I would definitely have higher on my list if he just trusted himself. So at the next level, that's going to be the coach's job is to get him to trust himself because then you're going to untap that potential. He's going to be just a one-man wrecking crew on the field.
All right. Let's go back to the list here. Well, now Cody's list, because we've pretty much covered everybody else that's on Joe's so far. And you guys did agree on number 9 here, so that's amazing here on this thing. So number 1 and number 9 you guys did agree on. But Cody, why don't you tell us about your 7 and 8 pick here?
All right, so Noah Sewell, this is a guy who he's pretty high in a lot of people's draft boards, and I can't say that I fully understand why he's projected to go as high as he is. Because I think this is a guy who's projected to go in like the 2nd round, and he needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like, he is horrible in coverage. He's solid against the run. And, like, this dude's best season was a couple of years ago. Like, you got to see his ceiling his sophomore season, and then since then it's gotten, like, a little worse, and then even worse this last season. So it's like, the potential's there, but why would you take a guy who's just not a complete linebacker prospect at the top? Like, I don't fully get it. Like, he's good enough to be my 7, but even that's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, Noah Sewell's like your prototypical middle linebacker, like old school middle linebacker. A guy that's heavy, a guy that's big, you know what I mean? And a guy that just plays the run. Do not ask him to cover or get into coverage because he doesn't do a good job at all of it. He's very slow. He's not as quick. And all you're getting him to be, if you do, is a depth piece. This guy, I don't see him ever becoming a true starter at the next level. If anything, he's a run specialist, a guy that can just play the run really well, and that's it. Most likely, I mean, I don't even know if he'll even get drafted, to be honest with you. Like, I think that there's too many limitations to his game and so much more development that has to go on. He might be a guy that slips through the cracks all the way to the end of draft and is an undrafted free agent.
That'd be pretty crazy.
All right, so what do you got for your next one here, Cody?
I think next was that Dennis. Yes, sir. Servassier Dennis from Pittsburgh. So this guy, he's another one of the guys who's going to need to get bigger because he's not insanely fast like a lot of these other guys that we will look at. And, you know, the guys who are running like 4.3s, 4.4s. This guy is not great in coverage, but he is excellent against the run. You know, he had 94 tackles last season, 12 of them being tackles for loss. And he also contributed in terms of his blitzing ability, his ability to get to the quarterback. So this is a guy who he's got, you know, he's two-dimensional. That's why I don't have him higher. I don't think he's ever going to be someone you can rely on if you're looking for a linebacker that can cover. It's just not going to be this guy. But if you need someone who maybe is like a dumbed-down version of Landon Collins if he was bigger, you know, someone that can blitz really well, someone that can get into the backfield, has good instincts, but just can't cover for a lick, then that is Servassier Dennis.
Any rebuttal, Joe?
He sucks.
Oh man, that's good.
Are y'all fucking serious right now? Like,
A lot of people, you know, I looked at him a little bit and I didn't need to see much. Given his size, given his, you know, high 40 time, he's not even that fast. Like, he's pretty slow for his size. A guy that's not explosive or good in coverage. I think, again, this is another guy that someone's going to probably maybe take him in late day 3, like as kind of like a throwaway pick to see if they can maybe develop him. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised either if he goes undrafted as well.
All right, let's talk about then. Now I have you here, Joe DeMarvion Overshawn here for you at number 9. You guys both agreed on this guy here at your 9. So there's one other ones here, but
yeah, DeMarvion Overshawn, linebacker from Texas. This is a guy that already has size at 6'3", 230. Could add another 10 pounds and runs a 4.5. So with that tremendous size, with his ability, with the speed and everything. The funny thing is, this guy is a former defensive back and changed over to linebacker halfway through his career. So definitely has a nuance of knowing how to cover and knowing what to look for in terms of receivers coming out of their breaks. A guy that is still a little bit raw, still needs some development, but you could easily turn this guy into a stud. If he goes to the right team to use him in the right spot, I would hate for him to go to a defense where they're going to just kind of pin his ears back and rush him off the edge all the time. I would like to use him because he's so versatile. You should be using him as an outside linebacker in that coverage area and what have you. But tremendous size, tremendous talent for me, and I like his upside. And that's kind of really why he made my list, is because when you watch the tape, he does have good pass rush moves when you do send him. He's just all around good, but still a little bit raw in terms of his in terms of going into the next level, and needs to get better at the next level for sure.
Yeah, when I looked at this player, it turned into seeing a lot of red flags. I'm like, he has the build, he's fast, I'm like, he started good. And then I'm like, former DB, this guy's got to be excellent in coverage. I'm like, he's not. He has given up over 100 career passer rating over multiple seasons of this, which I'm just like, this is supposed to be your specialty. Like, why are you not better at this? But, he showed good instincts in terms of his ability versus the run. He had over 100 tackles last season, and he got a couple sacks. Maybe that's something he can work on going forward. But other than being, maybe a guy who can help you against the run, I don't think that you're going to be able to get much more out of this guy. He was a former DB. He obviously moved because he's very bad at coverage. And I don't know if that'll change at the next level. I think his ceiling is very limited.
I think that at the next level with better coaching, they're going to open that up at the,
I hope so.
At the next game.
All right, and rounding out the list
Real
here
quick.
for Cody.
Real quick.
What's up?
I got to mention one player at least on my honorable mention.
Okay.
Is Ivan Pace Jr. From Cincinnati.
I do not know that.
This dude is an absolute wrecking ball at linebacker. Played middle linebacker for Cincinnati, but the only problem is that he's extremely small. He's like 5'11". He's 225 pounds. But the crazy thing is, when you watch the tape, is they sent him a bunch of times, and he would drive right through centers, guards, even double teams. Like, nobody could stop this kid. He had such desire and played extremely hard that nobody could stop him. They tried to double team him, doesn't work. Still gets through. They put their best lineman on him. It didn't work. Like, teams struggled to find a way to stop this kid. Tremendous pass rusher. But again, because of his size, I feel like this is another player that's going to just kind of get pushed aside and end up being an undrafted free agent or maybe a late day 3 pick. But I think just because of the size is the wrong thing to go with here if you're the NFL. I know there's guys that are short and they kind of ball out the next level. Don't overlook this kid.
All right, Cody, Ventrell Miller. What do
So
you think?
for my last player here, this guy, he is a very much does one thing very well. He is very good versus the run. This is not someone who I don't think he's going to ever develop into someone who can cover, because he's just not that fast. He's not good at getting through on pass rushes. He's shown on blitzes just kind of looking a little confused. So this is a guy who's probably going to end up turning into, at best, maybe a backup who can come in and be like, yeah, he can help us stop the run. But other than that, it's probably his ceiling, unless something crazy gets unlocked that I haven't thought about yet.
That's the thing with Ventrell Miller is like phenomenal against the run, and that's it. Like, nothing too crazy with him. Like, he's another guy. He's a one-trick pony, and it's not even like a pass rush. Like, he's not good at pass rushing. He's not good at coverage. He's just good at kind of fighting through the traffic and finding the running back. So maybe anybody wants to give him a shot. I didn't really like him, and I think because of his limitations, that's why he could be another player that slips through the cracks.
Yep. All right, here we go. We are handling the 2023 NFL Draft top defenseman here. We're getting now finally here to the defensive backs here. We mixed the safeties and the corners together, and kind of thank God we did right now at this point, because it's been a really long show. So I hope everybody's sticking with us. So here we go. But we definitely appreciate it out there with you guys too, especially like the video and also comment too. And even if you're watching it after the fact, listen to it on your headphones, on the podcast and stuff. Drop a comment what you think, because we read those things too after the fact, after the show's over and stuff like that. And you guys pop it up there. We read your comments and we respond as fast as we can. So definitely keep them coming. Let's go now. Here we go. The DBs now. We have them all mixed here, so it'll be interesting to see how many corners, how many safeties sprinkle in this whole mix between Cody and Joe. But here we go. You guys both agree here on Devin Witherspoon here at number 1. So, Cody, why don't we start off with you here on this one and see why you have him here at your number 1?
Yeah, so this dude is a beast. Targeted last season, he only gave up a 24 0.6 passer rating. This is a guy who was, man-to-man with some of the best wide receivers every single game. Like, this dude is just incredible. He's fast. He can press. He could maybe get a little bit bigger. I think he's only like 6 foot, 180, so he can improve in that, but that's nothing that's difficult at the next level. I don't even consider it a red flag. But this dude, he can come up against the run. He can maybe work on his zone a little bit because Illinois is very much a, blitz heavy in man scheme. So that's zone isn't something he was always asked to do a lot. So that might be something he has to work on. Or he just goes into a man heavy scheme. I almost see him as kind of like how Nnamdi Asomugha was. How he was extremely dominant in man, but then you threw him into a zone system and it overwhelmed him a little bit despite his talent.
Yeah, and that's the other issue with this draft is coming up. A lot of teams, you're going to see some surprise picks, and it's not because, we had him rated higher. Yeah, you might have, but he doesn't fit the scheme. And Witherspoon, it kind of falls into that. If you're looking for a true man-to-man corner and you're not really worried about the zone ability, this is your guy. Like, this is the number one prospect coming out, and I think he's versatile. I think he could easily play safety with his physicalness and the ability that he has.
He hits
so
hard.
He might start his career early at corner and then transfer to safety in his late part of his career. I've never seen a corner as physical and dominating as I have Devin in a long, long time. And one thing, if I was going to throw one thing out there that is a negative on him, it's I wonder at the next level, is he going to get called for having his hands on the receivers? Because he isn't as, how do I word this? He's not aggressive to the point where like he's shoving the corners around.
Not overly physical.
But he does have his hands on the corner. So if a referee views it as, well, he's got his hands on him and that's why he didn't make the catch. You know what I mean? Like there could be PIs called at the next level. And that's one thing that concerns me about him. I hope that's not the case because I like seeing a little bit of physicality between the receiver and corner and let them play. But that's like the only thing. Other than that, this dude hits like a truck. Like for a guy his size, he's 6 foot 180. And I see him lay out fullbacks who are almost, half or double his weight.
Yep.
Carrying the ball. And this dude lights them up out of nowhere. Like tight ends, anybody. He's not afraid to come up and make a hit. He's not afraid to come up and run support. And you got to love that about him. Not only is he a very physical corner, but he's willing to do whatever it takes to make the play. So, yeah, he's easily number one.
All right, there we go. So let's look at Cody's number 2 here, and Brian Branch out of Alabama here, Cody. Why do you have him here at 2? I know on Joe's list he's having here at number 5.
So Brian Branch, I think he's going to be one of those guys, no matter where he goes, he's just going to kind of fit. Unless you're asking him to play like super tight man coverage. Like most teams, what they want a guy who can play zone, a guy who's solid in coverage and can help you in the slot. And you want a guy who hits like a truck. This guy, he almost reminds me of like a Jamal Adams like player, someone who isn't really a ball hawk. He's not going to get you 5-6 interceptions on a season, but he's going to destroy players if they get to the next level. And he just kind of does everything very well. So I see this guy fitting in immediately on a team. I think he and one other player are the only ones that I was like, these guys are for sure day one starters, and I don't even think they're that risky.
No, not at all. Brian Branch is going to be like, he is the best safety coming out. It's not even close.
Yep.
Like, Brian Branch, he's so versatile. And I think he is better at man than some people give him credit for. I think he has the ability to play both zone and man extremely well. And he reads and reacts to plays much faster than any other safety coming out. This guy is just, bar none, like the best dude to get. If you need a safety, this is the guy you have to get. Like, no question. And I feel like he's going to be picked in the first round at some point. I know safeties have been kind of, pushed down in terms of value in the draft. Like, they're not as highly sought after or guys that people look for. You know what I mean? And maybe that's because we haven't seen any Ed Reeds of late. We haven't seen any Ed Reeds or Sean Taylors or guys of that, stature. So, but Brian Branch is definitely a guy that can do everything well. Plays the run well, covers well. So he's definitely the number one safety coming out.
All right, here, Joe, look at it. Man, number 2 here, you have DJ Turner out of Michigan, and now Cody has him back here at number 9 now, too. Now, what puts him up there as far as with all the DBs mixed together at number 2?
DJ Turner, what kind of jumped off the film for me about DJ Turner is, yes, everyone's going to point to the fact of like, oh, he's the fastest corner coming out. Is that why you got him high? No. He's not only the fastest corner, so he has that makeup speed, but also his change of direction is off the charts. It's better than anybody in this draft. And when you can mirror receivers with that change of direction, and we've seen him do it against top flight receivers. Look at Marvin Harrison Jr. Last season against Ohio State, he locked Marvin Harrison up. Like, Marvin Harrison has easily going to be the most sought after receiver in next year's draft. And rightfully so. But DJ Turner, I haven't seen a corner kind of really reduce his numbers and kind of basically shut him out in those games. And Turner, when they allow him to play man, he's like white on rice. You can't shake him. He's just always in your back pocket. And with his ball skills and be able to catch the ball, and yes, he's on the little bit of a lighter side in terms of weight, but at the next level, no question, I think he's going to get that up, and he's going to become a better corner for whoever takes him. But I have him at 2 because I don't know why people are sleeping on him. I mean, the dude is literally amazing, and he's not afraid to make hits either. He's a guy that will come up and run support. He's a guy that does everything well. So for me, I know the consensus is to have Gonzalez here in terms of corners, but Turner, man, I just think at the next level, he's going to be a difference maker for somebody.
All right, so despite the fact that he's at 9, I mentioned earlier that there were 2 guys in this class that I'm like, these guys for sure, day 1 starters. And then the other guy was DJ Turner. I believe he's going to probably be someone that we might see move into the slot when he moves to the next level with that ridiculous, 4.26. 4.26 is just, as like unheard of. That is, we all talk about, oh, John Ross is so fast. I'm pretty sure even he didn't hit a 4.26. But like, this dude is going to get to the next level. He didn't even give up much of a passer rating in his 2 years as a starter. I believe it was only like a 60 when targeted, which is just very good. And I think this guy is going to be a ridiculous steal. This is someone I think is supposed to go in like the 3rd or 4th round, which is just ridiculous. If on teams, I'm like salivating, like, yeah, let's just overdraft him a little bit. This is a first-round talent. Like, who gives a shit?
Right. And who knows, we might see that.
We might. This year's class is one of the weirdest I've ever seen.
All right, let's get to number 3 here for Joe. Now, Christian Gonzalez, you told him about there, or you think that you think of his name right there has got to be at number 2. You have him here at 3. Cody's there at 4. So you guys are roughly around the same area now. Let's talk a little bit about him here, Joe.
Christian Gonzalez, I mean, it's hard to say this guy is, I had a hard time putting Turner ahead of him. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I mean, Gonzalez, all 3 of these corners are first-round corners in my eyes. Like, these guys are not far apart. Yes, they all bring something a little bit different to the table. But Gonzalez, he's your prototypical outside corner. Like, he is 6'1", near 200 pounds, and a guy that does everything extremely well. He's very smooth. He doesn't get fooled too often. And he's very versatile in the fact that he plays zone and man extremely well. So all around, you would think that he should be number 1 because of his size, because of, and quite honestly, maybe he will be. We don't know that. But in terms of my opinion, Gonzalez, he's just a very, very solid prospect. And I had a hard time putting him at 3, but at the same time, I'm like, I just can't ignore DJ Turner's upside.
All right, so when I look at Gonzalez, I'm like, right now, this guy is just like, he's the perfect build. He doesn't need to bulk up. He's already 200 pounds. He already runs a 4.3. What I want to see him be a little more dominant. Why he slipped to 4 is I'm looking at, like, passer rating when targeted is something I very much analyze heavily. I know he's, a guy who's covering the top guy constantly, but the guys ahead of him were just more dominant in that field. Devon Witherspoon was insanely dominant no matter who he guarded, and Gonzalez just gave up like a pedestrian, like 75 passer rating. Not great, but also it's just average. So I want to see that improve. This guy's potential is through the roof. I mean, if you draw up on paper, hey, I want my perfect corner to look and play like this, it's Gonzalez. He needs to be a little more dominant, and then he showed weaknesses against bigger receivers. Bigger receivers tended to bully him, and that's where the passer rating
The
came
one
from.
thing that I'll say about Gonzalez, too, is now that you kind of brought that up, is I guess the other thing that I noticed on tape is that I didn't see a lot of, like when a play didn't go his way, you didn't see the frustration that you would like to see in a prospect. Like, shit, I shouldn't have let that happen. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
get angry at himself. It was just like calm, cool, collected. Like, okay, it sucks. They got a first down, but next play. Like, to me, it's like I want to see that fire in a prospect. Like, if you screw up or if you give up a play, I want to see you get aggravated because that's showing me your passion for the game. That's showing me your pride for yourself. And to show everybody why you're the guy you are. Yeah. And I didn't see enough of that from Gonzalez. It seemed a little too just going through the motion. It's cool. Whatever. Next play. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I like to see a little bit more fire at the next level.
All right, here, now get into the list. Manuel Forbes here. Cody, you have him at 3, and now Cody or Joe on the other end now has him drop back. So it's almost like what you guys did flip flop here with DJ Turner here. Now, what did you see in him that maybe moved him up to where you didn't have like a DJ Turner right
so
there?
I don't think you will see a more like flashy guy that jumps off the page to you than Emmanuel Forbes. This guy was an interception machine his entire career, and he is in fact the college football leader in pick sixes. This dude is super fast. He's even elusive. He probably, if he had better hands, he'd probably be a wide receiver, as a lot of corners are. He needs to get a little bigger. I believe he's actually the smallest in terms of ways, the smallest corner in this draft. But despite that size, this is a guy who, in 50-50 situations, he's been amazing in every season of his career. He's never faltered in that. And last season, he only gave up a 40 passer rating when targeted. So this is someone who game in and game out has been dominating, even as the number 1 corner for Mississippi State. So I didn't see enough red flags to even put him lower than this, even ahead of guys like Christian Gonzalez, who everyone is first round on, and I think Forbes should be a first rounder, but he will not be.
The only reason why is because of that size. Like, he's very long, he's very lean, and he needs to gain a lot, like 30 pounds of muscle. And when you do that, when you go to that kind of extreme weight, that's going to make him slower. We don't know how much slower that's going to make him because he's not normally carrying that weight. So you put 30 pounds on this guy to get him close to where he needs to be. I'm not so sure he's running a blazing 4.4 anymore, or 4.35 for that matter. So that would be one thing. Now, if you put that much weight on him, is that going to hinder him to be able to play the position at the level that he's played it at? So because of his weight alone, that's why I have him much lower. If it had nothing to do with his weight, he would be in the top 3 conversation. I mean, his ball skills and his read and react quickness is off the charts. The guy's absolutely amazing. I have him at 9 just because I don't know what he's going to end up being at the next level. Like, he'll be corner, but you see these physical receivers, they're all men. They're not little boys like he is at right now. So he will get pushed around is what I'm saying. So I think at the next level, he's going to have to develop. He's going to have to work on getting himself, stronger, bigger, and hopefully quick, because that's a lot of weight to put on. And if that's a needed thing for him, which it is, I'm not so sure he can be the starter right away. I think you can try and see what happens, but he will get out-muscled at the next level.
All right, next up at number 4, you have Deonte Banks, and Cody has him here at 5, so it's pretty similar here for you guys here. Now, Joe, what do you got here?
Here's the crazy thing is Deonte Banks, for me, early on in this draft process, I had him low. I had him so low. And I think I must have found bad tape on him or something.
Yeah.
But then I had to go back and I tried to find different types of film on him throughout his career at Maryland. when I found that, I'm like, holy shit. This is what everyone's talking about with Deonte Banks. Super quick. Guy's already got that prototypical size, 6 foot, near 200, 4.35 40. We talk about Emmanuel Forbes having that. Wow. Well, this is a guy that has size and runs a 4.35. And not only that, super, super quick. Very fluid in his hips. Phenomenal tackler. Will come up and boom you, and you'll know it. I've seen, what was it? There was a play that I watched, and I'm like, holy crap. There was a tight end caught the ball over the middle, and he goes to turn upfield, and here comes Deonte. And literally, it didn't even, Banks is smaller than this guy. And he hit him so hard, the ball went flying, the tight end went backwards, and there's Deonte just standing there like, yep, that's what happens. Exactly. So Banks is not only one of these guys that I see as like, he's super tough to shake him. Like, he has this quickness, he has a speed, and he's strong enough to where he's going to contend against these receivers at the next level. He's going to give them problems. And he can play zone, he can play man. They didn't play a lot of man in Maryland, so you kind of had to project in that area. But I think with this dude's abilities, he's definitely easily in that top 5, so he's 4 for me.
Yeah, so this is one of those prospects who he's just gifted in terms of his build, in terms of his athletic ability.
It's crazy.
I think he posted basically the #1 mark in everything. Vertical. He was up near the top in 40, bench, everything. This dude just does everything very well. You know, maybe at the next level, he can be a little more dominant. You know, I would like to see that passer rating when targeted go down a bit. But, you know, when I'm watching on deep routes, this guy, step for step, never has any issues. Doesn't matter how fast, how physical. He's right in the guy's face. Maybe some top-tier receivers beat him in terms of physicality or something. Maybe that's what jumped up the passer rating. You know, you don't see the lowlights. You know, I only can go so in-depth because I'm not watching every single game these guys
We don't get paid for this either, Cody.
Yeah.
You know this is free. This is free entertainment here.
Yeah, and then this is a guy who's also been basically healthy his entire career. He's played over 1,500 snaps in his college career. You know, to go through all that and basically be injury-free, despite being an extremely physical player who comes up on the runs too, that's just hard to find. And at the point he's going to get drafted, it's going to be a steal.
Agreed.
There you go. Ding. All right, so here we go. This is where it starts to differ now for you guys here.
Yeah.
Where again, you're mixing the corners and the safeties here together. So it's interesting to see your back halves of the top 10 here. Now, Joe, let's do it a little quick, maybe back and forth with you have Clark Phillips here. At 6, Cody has Julius Brents. Maybe make your case for why you selected that particular player for that spot.
So for me, for Clark Phillips III, coming out of Utah, the only thing that you can give him a red flag for is being 5'9". That's it. This player is absolutely going to be a steal for somebody because you can move this guy in the slot and you're not going to get rid of him. Like, he's going to be glued to you. This guy is super quick, super fast. And I just believe that this dude at the next level, he's going to be a nice, like, third type of corner for somebody that's going to be dominant at that position. He's highly productive out of college, super competitive with natural instincts, and the only thing that you could say, 5'9", okay, he's a little too short for me and what have you, but there are guys that are short in the NFL that play that slot corner role, and they make it very difficult for receivers. So I feel that that's going to be his niche at the next level. Clark Phillips, because of his coverage ability and what have you, that's why I got him at 6.
Cody, Julius Brents.
All right, so this is a guy who, if you would have asked me last season about Julius Brents, I would have been like, yeah, this guy is horrible, because he had not had a good college career, really, until this season, where this dude, he must have worked extremely hard in the offseason, because his improvement was insane. All of a sudden, he had 4 interceptions. He was one of the most dominant corners in terms of passer rating when targeted this entire season. The only downfall of this guy is right now he runs a 4.5. And you're like, oh, he might struggle.
It's average speed.
Yeah, he might struggle against the burners. But this guy's he's very lengthy. He's also a great tackler. Like, there's a lot.
He's 6'3".
There's a lot to like about this guy, and he's someone who's played man and zone a lot, so he is very well versed in both. So I don't have many doubts about him at the next level. He's not as flashy as some of these other guys, but I think he's going to come in. He has day one. I think he'll be like a number 2, maybe someone who's fighting for a spot, who has that potential to develop into a number 1.
Yeah, and that's one thing is like he definitely has potential to be a number 1. But I think like the one big problem with him is that his change of direction is slow. Like there's not that twitch and that plant the foot and explode off of it to mirror your receiver. At the next level, you're going to be needed. You need to do that. You just need to. Otherwise, you're going to get exposed with route runners that you're going to have to contend with every single week. So very good straight line speed. You know what I mean? He accelerates extremely fast to that 4.5 top end. But I think like with change of direction, and you see this happen a lot with these taller corners where some of them have a hard time changing direction quickly. So for him at the next level, that's going to be his challenge, and to see if he can overcome that. He's definitely a developmental prospect, though.
All right, next you've got J.L. Skinner, Joe, from Boise State.
J.L. Skinner, man, this dude I'm so hyped about. Like, I think I don't know why he's not being talked about more. It just doesn't make any sense to me. This guy is a mean safety.
Holy Santa Claus.
From Boise State. 6'4", 209 pounds, runs a 4.55 40. This guy is physical, has great man-to-man skills, plays well in coverage. And there was times where you would think that there's only one safety on the field because he came from all the way from the other side to pick the ball off over the middle. Like, this dude his awareness is off the charts. The guy has tremendous size already at 6'4", 209. And with that, even though it's average speed as a safety, that's crazy fast. So I think this guy can do an extremely good job of maybe defending against tight ends at the next level. He can do whatever is asked of him. I feel like he's just, for whatever reason, he's under the radar type of prospect. And we'll see. Like, maybe I view him as a day 2 type of draft pick, maybe like second or third round.
Yeah.
But in the end, I don't know how this guy doesn't get drafted in day 2, if anything, because everything is there. Like, this guy, you have no concerns with him. Like, okay, he's super tall. He's 209. He's got blazing fast speed. He's not afraid to come up and run support. Smart on the back end in terms of coverage. So to me, he's easily got to be there in this conversation.
All right, Cody, Joey Porter Jr.
All right, so this guy, he is a very physical corner. He is
Very physical.
6'2", 200 pounds. And while, that physicality is something you look for, you also don't want to see him getting flagged so often, as he was one of the most penalized corners in college football. And maybe that's something that can be worked on, because if you remove that from the equation, this is a very dominant corner. If he just works on, knowing when to be physical. This is someone who, when they played Ohio State, was one of the only guys in college football able to really lock down Harrison, similar to how we talked about Turner earlier. Is in that game, he held him to only a couple catches, and it kind of showed his potential as a player. This is how he can play against NFL caliber receivers, but he's just got to stop being so grabby. That grabbiness
Absolutely.
will not work at the next level.
Yep, and that's the thing that's going to be it's a very hard habit to break.
Yep.
So Joey Porter, I love his straight line speed, his size. I mean, he's very physical, like you said, and he can run with you down the sideline. He can cut off that pass because he's so tall, because he's just in the way. He's not going to let you bully him. You know what I mean? He makes a point of that from the first snap to the last.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, like when I said about Witherspoon and my concern about him having his hands on, he's physical, but he's not pushing the receiver. This is where I'm concerned with Joey Porter more, is that he really does push against the receiver when the ball's in the air. He's shoving him with one hand as he's looking back for it. You know what I mean? Or he's got a hold of one of their arms and pinning it to their waist. Like, I see PIs all day long on this guy. I think the one thing for him is I think he has to go to a team that plays more zone. a guy like the Steelers or something like that, where he can really perform and not be asked to be like try to mirror guys and bully them, on their routes. So, for me, Porter, I don't have him in my top 10. He's in my honorable mentions, but because of that is why he fell out of 10 for me.
All right. Next up at your number 8, Joe, you've got Garrett Williams out of Syracuse.
Yeah, Garrett Williams, local product here from Syracuse. Cornerback, he's 5'10", 192, has 4.5 speed, which is kind of average. Like you mentioned about who was it? Wait a second. What was your corner run for? Julius Brents. Julius Brents.
Runs a 4.5.
Same type of deal, but this guy has outstanding quickness. Like, it's crazy how quick he can change direction. He's got good coverage skills, whether it be zone or man. Good hands, not the best, but good hands for a corner. I mean, most of the time corners can't catch, so that's always a plus. But for Garrett Williams, he does a good job of just kind of staying with the receivers. Yes, he doesn't have the top-end speed that you would like, but I think if you're going to take this kid, in the second round, maybe in the third round, because you need cornerback help, you're not going to be too upset about it. Like, you're going to get yourself a solid player, maybe solid rotational guy, if not, maybe develop into a starter.
All right, Cody, Cam Smith, South Carolina.
So Cam Smith, this is kind of the first zone specialist I will talk about. This is a guy who he has not been very dominant in man coverage. It's where you've seen him, give up some PI penalties over his career. But he excels great in the zone. I think he led all of college football in pass deflections last season with 15. So he has that ability to be very instinctive in zone coverage. Maybe you can develop the man down the road. And while he isn't a great tackler, he's very instinctive in terms of his flow to the ball. If he can maybe work on his tackling form, work on not being so grabby in man coverage, just be kind of consistent. If you're a zone specialist and at least a solid man coverage guy, you have a place in this league. But right now, with his man coverage where it's at, he's going to have a hard time off the rip. This is a guy who potentially can become a solid starter in this league.
Right, and early on the draft process, they were pushing him up into like the lower first round.
Yep.
Like they were like, "Oh, Cam Smith, he's doing everything great." Blah blah blah. Now that we're getting farther into the draft process, we're starting to see red flags here and there on him. But still a good prospect, still a guy that has, if you develop him to fit your scheme or what have you, maybe he could be a steal. You know what I mean? So that's what a lot of these prospects kind of are, except for the top end of our top 10.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys are guys that maybe the teams are missing something and we're not missing it. We're going to find out in the draft. But my next one I have is Riley Moss, corner from Iowa. Now, I mentioned earlier that Iowa defensive players got to have a high football IQ. They just got to be smart, and they all are. This is a kid at 6'1", 193, runs a 4.45 as a corner. And when I put on the tape on this guy, I'm like, who is this dude? Like, why isn't everybody talking about him? Because you have guys like Emmanuel Forbes with the weight issue. You have guys like Cam Smith that is just dominant in zone, but not really man, one-trick pony type of deal. Then you get Riley Moss here. Holy crap. I don't understand what everyone is overlooking on, but this dude has size, has speed, he has a quickness, he mirrors receivers, and it's almost a lot of times it looks like he's the wide receiver. It looks like he's just in the perfect spot, catching the ball, high pointing it, and getting the turnover. And then you look at his physicality. You look at him run defense. This guy he's not afraid. He will come up and punch you. He will do what he has to do to get the play done. Play against the run. He plays pass well. Iowa does like a hybrid defense. Like they do play a lot of zone, but they sprinkle in man every once in a while. So you're projecting in terms of man coverage, but it looks really good on tape. This guy mirrors everybody. So very smart. Always has his head on a swivel and is always reading and reacting extremely well. So he made my 10th spot, but could easily be put higher.
All right, so at my 10th spot, I had Jordan Battle. Nothing really in terms of this guy's, like, his height, his weight, his speed, strength. None of that stuff jumps off the table. What does jump off is this guy's very good tape. At first, I was like, I'll watch this guy's tape just because. And I mean, this guy's not great at coverage, but he is very instinctive at knowing where to be to secure interceptions. If a quarterback makes a mistake and Battle is in the area, this guy is going to come up and make the play. What he needs to work on at the next level is he's going to need to be more disciplined as a tackler. I see a lot of the time this guy's going for, lowering the shoulder and going for almost like a Madden hit stick where they lower the shoulder and don't move.
Likes the big hit, yeah.
So he needs to lean off of that and work on just form tackling because he's there. He's getting to the plays. Maybe he's getting overshadowed a little bit because there are so many superstars on Bama. We already talked about Branch. But I think this guy has the potential to become a starter in this league if someone can just work on his discipline with him.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Battle. For me, he is in my honorable mentions, but for me, again, the coverage is atrocious. Like, it's not good. He's lost in zone, man coverage, which they didn't really play a whole lot, but when they did, he's getting beat. For me, Battle, I see him more as an in-the-box safety, and that's why he didn't make anywhere close to my top 10. He's just in my honorable mentions. He's an in-the-box safety. He's a perfect fit for a defense like Seattle. They could probably get him later on, and he would really fit a niche there. A guy like Jamal Adams, who's been hurt the last few years, maybe they can develop him to kind of replace Jamal, and they don't miss anything there. So, but yeah, I like him. I like how physical he is. Yeah. He has that size factor at safety, and you like when he comes up and he lays the boomstick. Yeah. But there are times when you go up against more athletic offensive players and they make a move on him, and he's like, what happened? Like, where'd he go?
Before we close everything out, like I don't usually bring up my honorable mentions, but this time I just think this is a guy, he just barely missed my list. I like him a lot as a player. That is Sidney Brown out of Illinois.
Yep.
This guy, he's one of the best ball hawks in this draft. He had 6 interceptions last season. He's an excellent zone coverage guy. He's fast. A lot of these guys we're talking about, they're running like 4.6s. Maybe even at the tail end of that. This guy runs a 4.4. That is excellent for the position. This guy, he could end up being, I think he's like a 5th round guy. He could be a huge steal in this draft. He worked hard. He improved every single season, something I really like seeing. I like seeing guys who go from like bad, mediocre, great. Because it shows them working hard to overcome maybe a bad start. It shows they're already used to adversity. So I'm very high on this player, so I had to get in a little bit of talk about him.
Can I ask you real quick? I wanted to get your opinion on Kelee Ringo. Because Kelee Ringo, for me, from Georgia, I see him as being a better safety than a corner at the next level.
Guy has the speed.
Tremendous size, 6'2", you know what I mean, over 200 pounds. He's got blazing speed with 4.35, 40. Not quick, though. He's not quick. Change of direction's a little slow, you know what I mean? So that's why I would put him at safety at the next level and develop him that way, and maybe you can get yourself a nice starter at safety with him.
Yeah. If you drew up the perfect looking prospect, it would be Ringo. This guy is big, he's tall, he's insanely fast, 4.35. Yes. But the problem is this guy very often relies on his speed and coverage. You'll see him get beat right at the line of scrimmage, lose a couple yards, and then luckily, because these are college quarterbacks, not NFL quarterbacks who are throwing better passes, he's able to use that speed to kind of make up some ground. But you can't do that at the next level. You can't just rely on that. And I think this guy just should have stayed in college longer.
Yes, absolutely.
You've only been in college 2 seasons. You're not a complete player. There's no reason to come out now. You're like, maybe you think your stock won't get higher, but your chances of being a starter at the next level right now, in my opinion, are very low. Maybe if he stayed 2 more seasons, he could have became something, could have worked on his coverage abilities and could have became a more complete prospect. But this guy, I think he's high on a lot of people's lists. In terms of
I don't get it.
Others, I don't get it. Nothing on tape that shows this guy has any chance of success.
And the crazy thing is, everybody still has him in their top 5 or top 10 type of corner ranking system, and I just don't see what everyone else is seeing. We'll find out this draft what the NFL teams are thinking. But I have way too many honorable mentions for DBs to even
Yeah, we
list
won't
them.
even get into that.
So I will post.
There you go.
I will
we
post
go.
all of my my rankings and everything in our group. Listen, it's been a long night. And thanks whoever does check this video out because we put a lot of effort into this, and we're getting closer, everybody, to the draft. That's exciting. Let's see where all these prospects do land. I can't wait to compare like mine and Cody's list to see where these dudes actually go in the draft. But other than that, make sure you tune in next Wednesday night. At 8:30 p.m. Eastern. If you could do so, that'd be great. You also like, share, follow, comment down below. Let you guys know, let us know that you're alive. And also, if you're new to the show, if you want to help support our show, grow our football community, it'd be much appreciated. Head over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, let you guys know when we go live. And you can also take us anywhere that you go every single day.
Join us next week from
Football
8 till
on the
10
Know
Wednesday
podcast.
night for more Football
Spotify.
on the Know with Jim and Joe.
All right, guys. See you.